At this time, Han Feng was leading the convoy and workers to the new city to prepare for construction. But unexpectedly, Hanyang City received bad news. An army of cannibals. Over 1,000 people equipped with shields, bows, arrows, and primitive spears. They are approaching from the north. They attacked the Forest Tribe's trade caravan. Then they occupied the Snake Tribe settlement. The survivors of the Snake Tribe fled to Hanyang City. Ing Rue, who was entrusted with guarding Hanyang City, immediately after receiving the news, ordered the city gates closed, prepared for defense. After discussing with Shaman Shu and the elders, Ing Rue decided to recall the tribesmen home, bring the livestock back to the pens, tightly close all 3 city gates, dispatched 200 cavalry to pick up the fleeing tribesmen. They also prepared the eagle, Baz Huge, to deliver a letter to Han Feng, hoping he would come up with a strategy to counter the enemy. After receiving the letter, Han Feng, along with Big Rat, Ju Tu, Shuya, and others discussed the strategy. After analyzing the enemy's strength and equipment, they believed that Hanyang City had solid walls. The cannibals would find it hard to breach in a short time. The real concern was the tribes coming to the trade market. They didn't know the situation. They might walk right into a trap. They decided to gather a coalition of tribes near Hanyang City. Wait until their forces outnumbered the enemy. Han Feng would lead the coalition to coordinate with Hanyang's defenders to wipe out the entire enemy force. Han Feng wrote a reply, ordering Hanyang City to hold fast, wait for reinforcements, and do not open the gates to fight on their own initiative. Additionally, he instructed them, in case of emergency, they could kill the pigs and sheep in the city for food. Han Feng also specifically reminded them to treat the Snake Tribe refugees well. Then, Han Feng led the warriors out of the new city, heading to a small hill at the foot of the ancient Pagoda mountain range, preparing to welcome the coalition forces. At the same time, Ing Rue, Shaman Shu, and the elders in the city acted quickly. They followed Han Feng's orders, closed the city gates tight, gathered all the men in the city, ready for battle. More than 200 refugees from the Snake Tribe were also settled properly. After discussion, the elders decided to let them stay temporarily in the warehouse used as barracks. There were over 100 bunk beds in the warehouse. Although a bit cramped, adults and children could still squeeze into sleep. If there wasn't enough space, they could push desks together to make beds. Now that they were in a state of war alert, no one was allowed to light their own fires. They had to eat in the communal mess hall. The Han tribe always treated everyone equally. But right now, priority for food had to be given to adult men, followed by women, and finally, children. Women and children were only allowed 2 meals a day. It wasn't that the Han tribe lacked food, but no one could predict when the enemy would retreat. In this uncertain situation, it was best to save food. Saving a portion meant holding out for another day. While Hanyang City had just finished defensive preparations, and Han Feng was leading his men back, the 1,000-strong cannibal army finally arrived at the foot of Hanyang City before dawn. They were shirtless, wearing animal skin loincloths or leaf skirts. Their bodies were painted with strange white patterns. Their heads were wrapped in unidentified vines. Although they didn't line up neatly, they weren't unorganized. It could be seen that they were divided into many squads. Each squad had about 40 people, led by a captain wearing a palm-sized skull necklace. Their attire was identical to the cannibals Han Feng had met before. The ranks included not just warriors, but also more than 40 red-furred apes. Even in an army of over 1,000, they stood out remarkably. Captives taken from the Snake Tribe and Horn Tribe were also present. They were tied together in a string, ropes tied around their necks, looking very miserable. More than 30 captives, tied in groups, guarded by a few apes. The ropes were held in the hands of the apes. They led the captives like dogs. The 200 antelopes captured yesterday were also there, but their numbers had decreased significantly. They must have been eaten. The remaining number was less than 100, also tied in strings, dragged along with the troops. They circled a large loop in the forest, finally appearing from the southwest. That was the former settlement of the border tribe. Clearly, they had followed the footprints and wheel tracks to chase them here. The entire army emerged from the dense forest. Suddenly, a vast land of over 3,000 mu appeared before them. This flat land was nothing special, just a plain amidst the mountains and forests. But what astonished them was that in the middle of this land, slightly to the east, stood a massive architectural structure, square on all four sides. Getting closer, they saw it clearly. This structure was surrounded by a moat. The walls were towering, built with blue bricks, smooth as stone, no gaps, no footholds, like a naturally formed vertical cliff. Only the four city gates had large wooden planks covering the outside of the walls. The curious crowd approached the west gate. Traces of ox carts and horse hooves extended to the protective moat in the west, then disappeared, looking at the large wooden plank opposite the wheel tracks. The crowd seemed to understand something. At this moment, the noise below the city attracted the attention of the sentries on the wall. The sky was just brightening. Visibility wasn't very clear. 10 warriors poked their heads out from the watchtowers or battlements on the wall, looking down below. Looking down, they saw countless white-skinned warriors, painted with strange patterns appearing at the foot of the wall. There were also apes twice the size of normal humans. The warriors, seeing the man-apes for the first time, were startled. "Enemy! The enemy is here! Beat the drums!" Someone shouted first. Immediately, 2 large drums at the west gate watchtower resounded with loud, booming sounds. The drums not only woke up the tribesmen sleeping in Hanyang City, but also startled the cannibal army and the apes below the wall. The enemy below looked towards the source of the drumbeats, only to see on top of the city wall, at the neat battlements, many figures were running back and forth. Some poked their heads out of the battlements, seeming to hold weapons in their hands. Look closely, those were sharp bronze spears or longbows. This image immediately attracted the attention of the enemy below. Never mind the hairstyles. The important thing was that the people on the wall were holding bows and arrows. It must be known that their target this time was the tribe that used bows and arrows. Now they had definitely found the right place. A red-furred ape outside the west gate also spotted the people on the wall. It roared in anger, ran a few steps fast, then leaped up, clearing the 4-meter-wide protective moat, clinging to the smooth city wall. But even though the ape jumped to a height of 5 meters, it had no strength to jump any higher. The smooth wall offered no footholds. Finally, it could only scratch the wall a few times, then fell with a splash into the moat. The fall into the water created a large splash, spraying water onto the city wall and the ground on the other side of the moat, soaking the man-apes and warriors nearby. Shouts rang out all around, along with the angry growls of the ape. The ape that fell into the water struggled to crawl up the bank from the moat. Then, like a wet dog, shook all the water off its body. Then it continued to growl at the people on the wall. Ing Rue stood on the watchtower, patting his chest, heaving a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, thank goodness. That monster almost climbed up. Luckily the wall is high enough. The moat is also wide enough. This is no joke. The protective moat proved its effectiveness when facing the man-apes. Although the moat couldn't do anything to the ape, it limited the ape's jumping distance. This beast was huge. Its jumping power was very strong. If there were no moat, letting it jump from a closer distance, it might have reached the battlements. But now, the moat limited its jumping distance, leaving the ape about 2 meters short of climbing the wall. This made the tribesmen in the city feel much more assured. As for those warriors, there was no need to mention them, let alone climbing the wall. Even if they had a running start of a few hundred meters, they might not clear the 4-meter-wide moat. Whether they could touch the wall or not was a problem in itself. Although they couldn't touch the wall, it didn't mean they couldn't attack. It must be known that the bows and arrows and spears in their hands were not useless, although they didn't have many bows and arrows. In the army of over 1,200 people, only about half had bows and arrows. But the number was still greater than the archers of Hanyang City. It was just that, if comparing the reserve of arrows, the two sides were completely in different leagues. Each archer of the cannibal tribe only had about 20 to 30 arrows. Moreover, the quality was very poor. Very few arrows had feathers attached. Even fewer had arrowheads. Their arrows were made by burning tree branches until they turned to charcoal, then sharpening them. As for the arrow shafts, if they could make them straight, that was already impressive. It must be known that the arrows they imitated were the most primitive type of arrows invented by Han Feng. At that time, Han Feng himself didn't have metal to use. The arrows didn't have arrowheads either. Feathers from giant birds were attached to the tail. The shafts were relatively straight, that was all. Other than that, they really weren't much different from this group's arrows. Speaking of the ape under the wall, After falling into the water, it wasn't resigned. It continued to try again. This time, it backed up further, then jumped towards the city wall again. But this time was different. The defenders on the wall were ready. Just as the ape leaped up, about to surpass the 5-meter height, at the battlements, suddenly a few archers appeared. Duer was one of them. Shoot! Duer shooted loudly. 5 arrows flew straight towards the ape's chest. 5 thudding sounds rang out. All hit the target. Each arrow pierced the ape's chest from a different angle. 2 arrows even pierced through the ape's body, protruding from its back. Before it could touch the wall, the ape let out a miserable scream and fell. With a splash, it fell straight into the protective moat. It struggled in the water a few times, seeming to break an arrow on its back, then kicked its legs twice. Motionless, it slowly sank to the bottom of the moat. The water surface returned to calm. A string of bubbles rose up along with fresh blood, dyeing a patch of water red. Carnivorous fish in the river seemed to smell the scent of blood. They swarmed in, frantically tearing at the ape's corpse. This unexpected event stunned the enemy below the wall. Even the other red-furred apes stared blankly at the red water for a while. The defenders on the wall saw the red-furred monster killed in the blink of an eye. Spirits were high. Shouts shook the sky. Loud cheers rang out continuously on the wall, gradually becoming uniform. Powerful, extremely heroic. The few archers who had just shot the ape were surrounded by everyone, praised and admired. The cheering on the wall also snapped the stunned enemy below back to reality. 2 man-apes, not knowing if it was out of anger or grief, roared and jumped into the moat. Then jumped into the moat. They worked together to chase the fish away, dragging their companion's corpse ashore. They even handily caught a few large fish that refused to let go of the ape's corpse, throwing them hard onto the city wall. But none of the fish hit the target. They were all dodged by the warriors on the wall. Other apes also ran over, surrounding the corpse, howling. One even pulled the Han tribe's arrows out of the body, snapped them in two. Looking at their companion's corpse, the other apes went crazy, running to gain momentum under the wall, trying to jump up the wall, wanting to kill those who shot their companion. Ing Rue and Duer saw this, hurriedly arranged the formation, moved all archers behind the battlements. As soon as the apes jumped up, the archers fired simultaneously. A series of thuds rang out. The 23 apes attacking this time were all hit by arrows and fell. Some were hit by many arrows, dying on the spot. Some were lightly wounded, fell into the water, then crawled back ashore, using their teeth to pull the arrows out of their bodies. Every time an arrow was pulled out, it tore out a chunk of flesh or made the old wound wider. Blood flowed ceaselessly. Even if they didn't die immediately, they certainly wouldn't live for long. This round of engagement ended once again with the failure of the apes. Suffering heavy losses, the apes also calmed down, no longer risking their lives to climb the wall. The wall was too high. They couldn't climb up. Finally, they had to accept their fate. But that didn't mean they couldn't use other ways to attack. Unknown who among the warriors gave the order, more than 600 archers rushed forward, gathering at a distance of 20 meters from the foot of the wall. Then, they simultaneously took out their bows and arrows, shot up at the city wall. Arrows rained down like a waterfall, shooting towards the defenders. But how effective could these primitive bows and arrows be? Uneven quality. Could the arrows even fly straight? The sound of arrows hitting the wall clattered endlessly. Some arrows didn't even reach the wall, already fell to the ground. Some arrows flew over the wall, falling into the city. But the warriors on the wall had long hidden behind the battlements. Let alone death. There wasn't even anyone wounded. 600 archers shot 8 rounds, but achieved no results. The captain below ordered to stop shooting. After all, they didn't have many arrows. Each person only had 30 to 40 arrows. They couldn't waste them like this. Seeing the enemy's arrows caused no damage, the warriors on the wall cheered again. Morale rose even higher. As for the enemy below, some were dejected, some were angry. However, there were also smart ones. They knew their bows were of poor quality, so they used a more primitive attack tactic. Someone shouted something loud. Then, a group of people in the crowd ran towards the riverbank. They weren't interested in the rice that looked like weeds. Seeing a large road in the middle, they followed that road to the riverbank. Because the rice paddies were full of mud, and weeds grew thick, no one wanted to walk through there. Hundreds of people ran to the riverbank. then ran back, each holding some river stones, piling them up at the foot of the wall. The red-furred man-apes saw the stones. Their eyes lit up. Without saying a word, they picked up stones and threw them at the figures on the wall. Ing Rue was poking his head out looking down. Suddenly saw a black shadow flying towards him. Hurriedly shrank his neck back. Then a thud was heard. A stone the size of a fist hit the corner of the battlement, then bounced into the moat. Seeing this, the other apes and warriors also picked up stones and threw them at the wall. In an instant, hundreds, thousands of stones fell like rain. Warriors hiding behind the battlements curled up, holding their heads. Many were hit by falling stones, screaming in pain. Some were injured, quickly retreated from the wall, leaving some people in the watchtowers. The others hurried down. Ing Rue also held his head, ran into the watchtower. Other warriors heard the screams, also quickly retreated from the wall. Some were hit by falling stones while retreating, crying out in pain. Finally, they ran down to the foot of the wall, hugging the inner wall to avoid the stone rain. The elder and shaman Shu stood inside the city gate. Seeing this, they were also startled. After thinking for a moment, the elder said, "Go to the carpentry workshop and check. I remember there seemed to be quite a few reserve shields, prepared by the chief for the army expansion. Bring those shields here. If not enough, use wooden planks, as long as they can block the stones." Duer stood nearby and heard this. His eyes lit up. Without saying a word, he ran straight to the wood processing workshop. Other warriors also ran after him. The stone rain didn't last long. Quickly stopped. After all, the number of stones they brought from the river was limited. They could only throw a few rounds before running out. While they ran back to the river to pick up stones, Duer and the others had brought shields and wooden planks from the carpentry workshop. The group ran up the wall again, and the injured warriors were taken to the warehouse, where the barracks used to be treated. The chief of the snake tribe saw 10 injured warriors being brought down. He immediately ran to ask Shaman Shu and the elder for herbs and tools to let his tribesmen treat the wounded. The snake tribe was naturally skilled in healing. Normally, they sold a lot of herbs to the Han tribe. Now was indeed the time to be useful. The elder was very happy to hear this. Personally led the snake tribe chief to get the supplies. A few minutes later, the second wave of stone attacks began. But this time, the warriors on the wall were ready. Some held shields. Some held large wooden planks together. The sound of stones hitting the wood thudded endlessly. But this time, no one was injured. The fighting spirit that had dropped due to the stone throwing now rose again. Ing Rue even deliberately set up a large wooden plank at the battlement to provoke the enemy. Down below, hey, I have a shield. I have a shield. Throw me. This provocative action quickly took effect before hearing the miserable screams of those hit by stones on the wall. The warriors below were very excited, finally found a way to deal with them. So they threw stones even more fiercely. However, after just a few rounds, those hair-tying people on the wall came up with a countermeasure. Seeing the man wearing a silver crown hiding behind a large wooden plank, looking down and sneering, the warriors below lost all motivation. Only the man-apes were unwilling to give up, picking up stones and throwing them at Ing Rue's plank. The strength of the man-apes was immense. Stones hit the plank with loud thuds, even forcing Ing Rue to step back a few paces. Ing Rue didn't dare to hold out anymore. After being hit by a dozen stones, he hid behind the battlement again. After this wave of stone attacks ended, the warriors of the Cannibal tribe were considered out of options. They circled the wall a few times, but found no weak points to attack. Finally, they were helpless against the defenders of Hanyang City. All 4 city gates were blocked. Let's see what you do. You can't stop eating. Stop drinking forever. If you don't come out to hunt, you'll only starve to death. Let's see if you'll come out. It was understandable for them to think so. They had never entered Hanyang City, didn't know what it was like inside. Even less did they know what the people in the city ate, thinking they were just like themselves, having to hunt every day. The fighting paused temporarily. Ing Rue also patrolled around the 4 walls. Seeing all 4 gates blocked, he shook his head helplessly. Even if they could fight their way out, Han Feng had ordered not to leave the city to fight. Moreover, if they really fought their way out, the Han tribe would surely suffer casualties. Perhaps the chief thought so too. That's why he didn't let them counterattack. So the 2 sides remained in a stalemate. Shaman Shu had people gather the stones thrown into the city, then brought them up to the wall. This way, They didn't need to pick up stones anymore. They could use them to throw back at the enemy. The siege of Hanyang City fell into a deadlock. Han Feng was still marching. At the current speed, it would take another 2 days to reach the small hillside at the foot of the ancient pagoda mountain. However, the march did not affect Han Feng's grasp of the situation in Hanyang City. Right after the cannibal tribe's attack ended, Shaman Shu had Bazhuge deliver a letter to Han Feng, briefly reporting on the battle situation and results. Finally, hoping the chief would give instructions. How to respond next. After reading the letter, Han Feng finally felt relieved. It was almost noon by this time. He told everyone to find a place to rest, eat lunch, and then continue. The team quickly found a place to stop. Those cooking cooked. Those going to the toilet went to the toilet. Han Feng also took this opportunity to write a reply to Shaman Shu. Everyone did very well. Must ensure the safety of the tribesmen. The wounded must be treated in time. Also, try to lure the enemy to the west gate. Don't let them get too close to the rice paddies. Avoid damaging the rice, leading to reduced yield. Don't be in a hurry to kill them. They will be our slaves later. Keep as many alive as possible. We still need them to work. Han Feng wrote directly in the letter what to do next, then had Bazhuge carry the letter back. For the next 2 days, the cannibal army continued to besiege Hanyang City. They left more than half of their troops guarding the 4 gates, while the others went into the forest to gather firewood and hunt. At this time, Han Feng had led the team across the river at another location, quietly advancing towards the small hillside at the foot of the ancient pagoda mountain, while Han Feng was marching secretly. When the tribes coming to attend the April market in Hanyang City also successively dispatched trade caravans to Hanyang City. But before arriving, they encountered the cannibals hunting in the forest. The predators of the cannibal tribe were looking for prey. Then these trade caravans delivered themselves to their door. At this time, the tribes coming to attend the April market in Hanyang City also successively dispatched their trade caravans. However, before arriving, they encountered the warriors of the cannibal tribe hunting in the forest. The predators of the cannibal tribe were looking for prey when these trade caravans delivered themselves to their door. Fortunately, those sent to Hanyang City for trade were mostly the strongest warriors of the tribe. Moreover, the number of cannibals hunting was not large, mainly small groups. Therefore, even if some were captured or killed, there were always a few who escaped. They frequently came to the Han tribe to trade, already knew the terrain along the way well, could find their way back even with their eyes closed. Therefore, before Han Feng could arrive to rescue, most of them had escaped the pursuit, hiding in the forest, not knowing what to do. 1 day later, Han Feng's team finally reached the mountain. Here, they encountered warriors from other tribes, running in panic. Great chief of the Han tribe, please help us. Some of our tribesmen have been captured by those warriors. Now, they might still be alive. Hope the chief sends troops to rescue them. A very haggard-looking man begged Han Feng. He came from the Flying Stone tribe. This time, his tribe sent 15 people, but only 7 people escaped. Moreover, they got separated. Finally, only 2 people met Han Feng. That's right, please help us, chief of the Han tribe. Our 4 tribe also has people captured. The Han tribe is powerful. Weapons are exquisite. Please, chief, lend a hand. Otherwise, I fear it will be too late. A short man from the 4 tribe knelt before Han Feng. Everyone stand up and talk. It's not that I don't want to help, but the enemy is too numerous. Perhaps you haven't gotten close to Hanyang City yet, so you don't know the situation there. The cannibal army has arrived. More than 1,000 warriors have besieged the 4 gates of Hanyang. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to sneak here to discuss strategies. Han Feng refused the request of the 2 men, at the same time clarifying the critical situation in Hanyang City. The enemy is numerous. The Han tribe has difficulty protecting itself, let alone saving others. So it is like that. Even Hanyang City is besieged? The short man from the 4 tribe said in surprise. Then has the Han tribe chief thought of a way? More than 1,000 people. Then how many people does the Han tribe have outside Hanyang City? The man from the 4 tribe asked curiously. Most of our tribesmen are trapped in the city. Outside, only these people remain. Seeing the 2 men looking disappointed, Han Feng paused for a moment, then continued. But it's not that there is no way. You want to save your tribesmen. We also want to save our tribesmen. Our goals are the same. Moreover, aren't the tribesmen of the Han tribe also your relatives? Which tribe doesn't have relatives in Hanyang City? Therefore, now it's not just one tribe in trouble, but all of us must face it together. If each of your tribes sends 1 or 200 people, we will quickly have 1 or 2,000 people. By then, won't it be easy to defeat the enemy? These words moved the others, even the warriors beside Han Feng. They were originally people bought from other tribes, having joined the Han tribe for over a year. How could they forget where they were born and raised? It needs to be added. The warriors below didn't know the details of this operation plan. They only knew Hanyang City was besieged by the Cannibal army. The chief led them here to reinforce. They didn't think at all that Han Feng wanted to take this opportunity to annex the surrounding tribes. Only the 3 high-level leaders and Han Feng knew this true intention. The others were unaware. Han Feng thought, even telling these warriors wouldn't matter. They lived a prosperous life in the Han tribe. Surely they also wanted their old tribesmen to enjoy such a life. The 2 men from 4 tribe and Flying Stone tribe heard Han Feng speak, also nodded silently. The chief is right. 1 tribe doesn't have enough people. Then everyone contributes. Surely we can gather 1 or 2,000 people. But even if our 2 tribes send people, at most, it will only be 200 or 300 people. Still fewer than the enemy. The short man from a 4 tribe said, just our 3 tribes are naturally not enough. But I can also find more people from other tribes. The Horn tribe and Snake tribe were also attacked. The survivors of the Snake tribe have arrived at Hanyang City. Now they're also trapped there. Cannot get out. But the Horn tribe still has 3 people in the city. I can find a way to get them out. And let them go back to call for people. Probably get 200 people. As for other tribes, they will surely come too. Han Feng analyzed for them. But our tribe is very far away. Traveling like that will take a lot of time. The man from the Flying Stone tribe stated the difficulty. No problem. We have horses. Have cavalry. I can send cavalry to take you back. Moreover, thanks to you sending troops this time, the Han tribe will have generous rewards. Although this is a matter for all of us. But your tribes have few people. Asking you to send so many people is indeed difficult. But you can go back and tell your chiefs like this. Say I invite the chiefs to come reinforce. Together, drive away the enemy. After victory, the Han tribe will have a big reward. This reward, I can reveal to you in advance. The Han tribe has recently discovered a very good place. Fertile land. Flat. Abundant water source. There's a lot of land suitable for farming. As long as we reclaim it, it can feed hundreds of thousands of people. Let alone just 1 Han tribe. As long as your chiefs agree to lead troops here, I am willing to share this place with you. Of course, if you don't want this place, the Han tribe also has other things as rewards. As long as you agree to come face the common enemy, warriors of the Han tribe are ready to charge. Fight on the front lines. Tell your chiefs exactly that. Anfeng generously pantida beautiful prospect. Fertile land? Of course there is. In this era, where isn't the land fertile? Never been exploited. But if they want to occupy it, they have to move there to live. By then, isn't the reclamation work still done by their own hands? To put it bluntly, it's still tricking them into working for him. What the Han chief said. Is it true? Are there really such good things? Those people were clearly persuaded by Han Feng. To put it bluntly, they crave his pie in the sky. Of course it's true. I am the chief of a large tribe. Thousands of people have countless good things. Would I deceive you over such a small matter? Just say what I told you. I guarantee to fulfill the promise. Han Feng kalndi asuriet. Then we must call people immediately. Hope the Han chief sends someone to take us back. Otherwise, I fear it won't be in time. No problem. Han Feng nodded. Then turned around, shouted loudly, Cavalry captain. Said Ada, quickly choose cavalry under your command. Find 2 warriors from the same tribe as them. 2 horses for each person. Take them back to their tribes to call for people. Yes, sir. Said Ada heard the call. Ran over, knelt on 1 knee, cupped his hands. Go choose people. Tell the warriors to be careful. Go fast, return fast. Han Feng waved his hand, signaling Sedada to go. The men from the Fork tribe and Flying Stone tribe hurriedly followed Sedada. Soon, they rode away on horses. Their tribes were not close to Hanyang City. It would take several days of travel. If walking, 1 day only covers 20 to 30 kilometers. A horse galloping, a day's journey takes only an hour. To the farthest tribe, it only takes 1 day. Therefore, calling for reinforcements was very quick. It is estimated that a large number of warriors will arrive here. After arranging everything, Han Feng wrote another letter to Hanyang City. He requested Rue to use the eagle to take the 3 people from the Horn tribe out of the city, then send cavalry to take them back to call for people. Han Feng painted a big pie for them again. Han Feng was urgently arranging to call for reinforcements from the tribes. Big Rat led shield bearers and archers, spreading out to the forests in the northwest and southwest, each squad of 12 people, searching for surviving warriors, then bringing them back to meet Han Feng. He would use words and promises to persuade them, then send cavalry to take them back to their tribes to report the news. Early summer. Today should have been the day the Han tribe held the trade market. But because the enemy was besieging Hanyang City, the market could not be opened. However, the tribes coming to participate in the market still arrived on time. As a result, they were attacked by the enemy. Fortunately, there were elite warriors of the Han tribe waiting in the forest. Every tribe had a few people who escaped. Then, these people were taken back to their tribes to call for reinforcements. Cavalry moved very fast, not picky about roads like carts. These cavalrymen all chose small paths, shortcuts to travel, so the speed was very fast. Basically, they returned to the tribe within the day. The chiefs of the tribes also immediately received this not-so-good news. Dark night. 2 full moons hung in the sky. The chief of the Yi tribe, nearly 30 years old, sitting by the fire, holding a bowl of rice in his hand, looking in surprise at the 2 people in front of him. One was a subordinate he sent to the market to buy goods. The other was a cavalryman of the Han tribe, wearing red and black armor. But this person was also formerly a tribesman of the Yi tribe. What did you say? Hanyang City is besieged by over 1,000 enemies? They even captured our tribesmen? That's right. Therefore, the Han tribe chief sent us back to report. Wants the chief to lead warriors to assist. They also promised a generous reward. The short man quickly recounted what Han Feng had said. The Yi tribe chief heard this, frowned, then looked at the Han tribe cavalryman. Chief, what he said is all true. I can testify. The cavalryman immediately understood the chief's meaning. Spoke up to confirm. Let me think. The chief frowned and said, this matter is not as simple as the 2 soldiers said. Their tribesmen were indeed captured. But how many people? Not more than 10 people. For the Yi tribe of over 400 people. This isn't a big deal. Just consider those 10 people dead. Should we send all the tribe's warriors to help them fight? Moreover, the reward he mentioned is a piece of good land, can be cultivated, farmed, can feed tens, hundreds of thousands of people. But how do they use it? To get that land, don't we have to move the whole tribe there? How can it be that easy? Just saying it is enough? However, he also said if we don't want that land, there will be other rewards, but didn't specify what it was. How much quantity? Completely empty promises. But what if we don't go? Heard that Hanyang City hasn't been breached by the enemy yet, just besieged. Moreover, according to this cavalryman, there's a lot of food and livestock in Hanyang City. No shortage of food. If the stalemate continues, it's unknown who will be destroyed by whom. So the problem is, if the Han tribe survives, after recovering, will they take revenge on the tribes that didn't send help? It must be known that the Han tribe has not just over 1,000 people. They can easily destroy small tribes like us. There's also a more important issue. If the Han tribe fails, they will surely be destroyed. Then will they buy white salt in the future? In other words, if the Han tribe wins, but doesn't come for revenge afterwards, but simply cuts off trade relations with them, then they won't be able to buy white salt either. This situation is very likely to happen. After all, when I needed help, promised a reward, and you didn't come to help, then on what basis should I sell things to you? If I were the chief of the Han tribe, I would definitely do the same. After thinking for a while, the Yi tribe chief sighed. If he doesn't send troops, then no matter what the final outcome is, he cannot accept it. Then the only way is to send troops. He was also forced. No other choice. The 2 warriors finished their rice, looking at the chief, waiting for an answer. After all, their tribesmen were still waiting to be rescued. Our Yi tribe and the Han tribe are friends. Now the enemy is besieging Hanyang City and captured our tribesmen. That is a common enemy. Since it's an enemy, there's nothing more to say. We must send troops. Immediately gather the tribesmen. I will choose 120 people. Depart tomorrow morning. The Yi tribe chief turned around, looking at the 2 men, declared boldly. So, that very night, the Yi tribe selected 120 warriors, 100 men, 20 women. Prepare to set off the next morning. That night, other tribes receiving the news did the same. Those who can be chiefs, Elders, shamans, are not fools. They're the smartest people in the tribe. Their thoughts were the same as Chief E. All were forced, reluctantly. The next morning, 10 tribes that had traded with the Han tribe sent warriors. A populous tribe like the Horn tribe, with nearly 600 people, sent 150 warriors, almost their entire fighting force. Other tribes also sent people. Large tribes sent over 100 people. Small tribes sent 40, 50 people. There were also small tribes, less than 100 people. Almost all tribesmen came. There were also small tribes of 50, 60 people, even carrying children along. Like migrating, for these small tribes, this might be an opportunity. The Han tribe found a good land and agreed to share with them, although they didn't dare hope to share, but maybe they could join the Han tribe. That way, those good things would be like being given to them for free. Many warriors were heading towards the gathering point. Some tribes were close nearby, arrived at the gathering point by the evening of the next day. However, seeing many cannibal warriors gathering at the city gate, Han Feng didn't order an attack immediately. Instead, he noticed cannibal warriors often sent small groups to hunt in the surrounding forest. Han Feng looked at the small number of warriors, then came up with an idea. He immediately posted a reward. Anyone who captures a prisoner, brings them to him, will be rewarded with 2 large bowls of white salt. The warriors who arrived early were amazed. Didn't expect such a good thing, so they immediately dispersed, preparing to hunt down the enemies who recklessly entered the forest. In the forest near Hanyang City, a squad of 40 cannibals was moving quietly. They were tracking the footprints of a herd of animals. In another place, Adasen Antraiv Kavalimen, riding bison, were heading toward a valley. They deliberately circled the area near Hanyang City to lure the hunting squads of the cannibal tribe into a trap. 2 groups of people, one in front, one behind, went deep into the forest, also getting closer to the ambush area. In the ambush area in the valley, nearly 200 warriors were hiding around. Some climbed trees, some hid in bushes. There were also ambushers lying flat in waist-high grass, motionless. Among these 200 people, there were Han tribe warriors wearing red and black armor. Also reinforcements from other tribes wearing leaf skirts. Before setting off, Han Feng had instructed them to try to capture the enemy alive. 2 sides, enemy and our troops, one in front, one behind, quickly reached the ambush area. Adasen Antraiv Kavalimendis Montef, then hid the cows away, found a hiding place, quietly lay prone on the ground, waiting for the enemy to walk into the trap. A squad of 40 cannibals, tracking the footprints of the herd, soon appeared in the valley. However, the footprints were originally very clear. Here they suddenly became messy. Around the cow footprints, human footprints appeared. This startled the captain. Could it be that someone else approached this herd? But looking at these footprints, they didn't look like human footprints. Han tribe warriors all wore military boots. Soles made of hardwood, carved with anti-slip patterns. Except for the size, they all looked the same. This type of footprint, the cannibals had never seen before, so they couldn't be sure if it was a human footprint. But before they could think, more than 100 people suddenly appeared around them, shouting loudly, "Surround them!" The cannibal warriors were terrified. The people in front of them dressed strangely. Red shirts, red pants, black armor covering important body parts, only revealing their faces. The weapons in their hands were also very exquisite, completely different from their bone spears. Bone lances, basically not in the same league. However, they were also experienced warriors. Their adaptability was very good. 40 people quickly stood back to back, forming a circle. Those with wooden shields stood on the outside, holding a shield in one hand, raising a long spear high with the other, placed on the shield. Those without shields also raised bone spears high, placed on the heads of the shield bearers on the outside. The Han tribe warriors pressed closer step by step, tightening the encirclement. Han tribe shield bearers drew their sabers, holding a shield in one hand, holding a shining saber in one hand. Every step they took, they tapped the saber on the shield once. The 2 sides hadn't engaged yet, but that imposing momentum made the cannibal warriors break out in a cold sweat. Some were too nervous, raised their hands to wipe sweat, smudging the patterns on their bodies. The encirclement tightened. Everyone stopped. The shouting also stopped abruptly. The space suddenly became quiet, suffocating, making everyone's nerves tense like strings. The cannibal warriors were also a bit panicked. They didn't understand what these strangely dressed warriors, like divine soldiers falling from the sky, intended to do. Why surround them? Now that they surrounded them, why not attack? But right at this moment, a clear hoarse whistle suddenly sounded in the ravine, echoing continuously in the valley. Immediately after, from the opposite direction of the cannibal tribe's path, a rumbling sound rang out, like thunder getting closer. The speed was very fast. All cannibal warriors looked in that direction. The next scene made them never forget for the rest of their lives. At this moment, the cannibal warriors were moving scattered in the forest, hearts full of intent to hunt and plunder. Who expected that in the blink of an eye, a group of strangely dressed warriors, like ghosts, had surrounded them from all sides. But the besiegers just stood still, neither attacking nor saying a word. The atmosphere became strangely quiet. The cannibal warriors looked at each other, completely not understanding what was happening, anxiously wondering in their hearts, what exactly do these people want to do? Just as everyone was bewildered, a sharp hoarse whistle sounded in the valley, followed by a rumbling sound getting closer, only to see 38 red and black steeds, rushing in like a tornado. Every horse had rippling muscles, 4 hooves flying. On horseback, warriors wearing red shirts, black armor, posture straight, like gods of war descending to earth. One hand holding the reins tight, the other resting a 4-meter-long lance horizontally, the lance tip shining, cold, but could tear through anything in its path. The warriors in the encirclement heard the order to disperse to both sides, immediately moved in order, like well-trained machines, making a path. Seeing this, the cavalry team immediately shot out like arrows leaving the bow, charging straight into the cannibals. The cannibals had fallen into a position of being attacked from front and back. They intended to form a defensive circle, to resist, but when the cavalry team charged in, their formation shattered immediately. Warriors fled in panic, completely lost direction. But regardless of heads, the cavalry did not hesitate. Charged straight into the encirclement. Sharp lances pierced through several cannibal warriors. The warriors who were hit, like ragged dolls, hung dangling on the lances, dragged by horses on the ground for a long distance, died on the spot. Fresh blood dyed the grass red, looking very terrifying. Warriors on the outside saw the enemy in chaos, did not miss this good opportunity. Nearly 200 people like hungry tigers released from cages, with overwhelming momentum, rushed at the more than 30 remaining remnants. Han tribe warriors were all carefully selected from 4,000 people. Exquisite equipment. Facing the enemy, they didn't flinch at all. In just a blink of an eye, they beat the enemy to pieces, followed by a chaotic fight, beating the enemy unconscious. Shield bearers were even more brave. They reacted quickly, sharp eyes and quick hands, using shields to accurately block the bone spears thrust by the enemy. Then swung the saber. With a slash, cut it in half. Then they rushed up, knocked the enemy down. Guards were not to be outdone. Raised wooden clubs, smashed hard on the enemy's head. With a thud, the enemy fell to the ground. When facing enemy spearmen, Han tribe spearmen showed clear superiority. Their spears were longer, could attack first. However, this time, Han Feng had requested capturing them alive, so the spearmen were specially trained. They used the spear shaft to parry the enemy's spear aside, taking advantage of the enemy's opening. Swung the spear shaft hard. With a smack, the enemy rolled on the ground. Before the enemy could recover, guards rushed over, used ropes to tie them up tight. Archers, when without bows and arrows, did not flinch either. Left hand holding a short stick, right hand holding a military shovel, as if holding a divine weapon. When enemy spears thrust forward, they calmly blocked with the stick, then swung the military shovel, chopped off the enemy's weapon. Next, they quickly closed in, beat the enemy black and blue. Their combat power was extremely respectable. The leader of the cannibal tribe was a formidable character. He was strong and agile. Amidst the chaos, he snatched a stick, then swung it around. The stick whizzed. No one dared to approach. Shield Captain Hu Manxiang saw this and frowned, thinking, not good. Cannot let him continue to rampage like this. So he didn't hesitate. Holding the shield like a person, charged straight at the cannibal leader, like an angry bull. With amazing strength, knocked him flying far away. While the opponent hadn't gotten up yet, Hu Manxiang swung his saber down, only heard a slash. An arm of the leader flew into the air. Blood sprayed from the wound like a fountain. Hu Manxiang held the bloodied saber, shouted loudly, "This is their leader! Kill him!" A dozen shield bearers heard this, like hungry wolves, howling and rushing over. In just a blink of an eye, saber light flashed. The fierce leader of the cannibal tribe was chopped into pieces. This bloody scene terrified the remaining enemies and the reinforcements. Faces pale, limbs trembling, they were easily captured by the Han tribe warriors. In this battle, the Han tribe won a great victory, wiped out 42 enemies, killed 5, captured 37 alive, while the Han tribe side had no casualties. This was truly a perfect victory. In the following days, the Han tribe coalition acted like experienced hunters, successively ambushed the enemy in the forest successfully. Every victory, the fighting spirit of the warriors increased. Some even chanted the slogan "Decisive Battle" at Hanyang City. However, Han Feng remained very calm. He knew now was not the time for a decisive battle. Must wait until the coalition is larger. At the same time, wait for the enemy to react. Understand their situation clearly. Only then can a decisive battle be fought. The enemy was not stupid either. They quickly discovered that the hunting squads sent out had gone missing. A difficult problem appeared. No food. Everyone started to get hungry. No other way. They had to send more people into the forest. Each squad of 100 people, also accompanied by a few apes, hoping to harvest something, conveniently search for the missing people. But they didn't expect that. Through many battles, Han Feng had captured over 300 prisoners, killed dozens. Therefore, the enemy forces outside Hanyang City only had about 800 people left. Strength significantly weakened. Early morning on the 8th of April, summer. Sunlight just shone on the ground. A cavalryman hurriedly ran to report to Han Feng. 2 enemy squads. 100 people each have fallen into the trap. They're following the bait we set, entering the ambush area. Expected to arrive before noon. Han Feng heard this. Immediately asked, "How many man-apes do those 2 squads have?" The cavalryman replied, "The squad heading south has 6. The squad heading southwest has 5. Han Feng thought for a moment, then said to the cavalryman, "You go back and tell Big Rat. This time the coalition has many people. Just let them fight in close combat. Our archer captain doesn't need to join the battle. Just stay far away and snipe the apes. Try to kill those monsters first, to avoid heavy casualties. Also tell Big Rat, this battle has apes participating. To avoid the situation getting out of control, no need to capture alive this time. Prioritize ensuring personal safety. If it's too hard to capture, just kill." The cavalryman received the order, immediately mounted the horse, galloped away. Han Feng went to check the situation in the camp. The situation there made him a bit worried. More than 300 prisoners were locked up here, had been starved for several days. They lay flat on the ground, weak, eyes full of despair. Besides prisoners, there were dozens of wounded, mostly guards from other tribes. The Han tribe only had 3 wounded. In the camp, there were also many women and children. Some were entire clans of small tribes asking to join Hanyang City. There were also female warriors sent by other tribes. Han Feng looked at these people, thinking, cannot let them be idle. Must let them do some work. So Han Feng assigned these women logistics tasks in the camp, guarding prisoners, taking care of children, cooking. By noon, fighting broke out in the ambush area. The great battle was about to begin. The ambush site was chosen very carefully, mostly open clearings without trees, to avoid the man-apes climbing trees. If let them climb trees, their combat power would double. Very hard to deal with. The tactic remained the same as before. Wait for the enemy to enter the trap, then block their retreat. But this time was a bit different. Before the cavalry charged, there would be a long-range attack. The archers were ready. They stood in the distance, eyes determined, aiming at the man-apes, shooting arrows simultaneously. Some apes were hit by 7 or 8 arrows and died on the spot. Some were hit by 1 or 2 arrows, still struggling, trying to escape. When the apes rushed forward, still 60 meters from the encirclement, shield bearers quickly formed a shield wall. Behind the shield wall were ranks of spearmen. They raised long spears, sticking out through the gaps between the shields, like a steel forest, ensuring no enemy could escape. Behind them were countless reinforcements from other tribes, each person holding 3 long spears, eyes fixed on the rushing apes. When the Han tribe squad leader gave the order, They threw spears simultaneously. Spears rained down like pouring water. The few man-apes hadn't even touched the shield wall, already pierced into hedgehogs by spears, dying on the spot. After eliminating the man-apes, the next battle proceeded according to plan. The cavalry team charged first, breaking the enemy formation. They were like a tornado, sweeping into the enemy army, causing their formation to shatter. Spearmen and shield bearers took the opportunity to rush in and kill. They coordinated smoothly, one attacking, one defending, beating the enemy into continuous retreat. 2 battles from start to finish only lasted less than half an hour. After all, this was a battle of 4. 500 people of the Han tribe coalition fighting against 100 enemies. From weapons, tactics, to advantages on the battlefield, all leaned towards the coalition. This victory was a certainty. After the fighting ended, the team began to clean up the battlefield. One group escorted prisoners back to the camp. Another group was sent to scout the enemy situation. When the prisoner escort group returned to the camp, it was already dark. Although not many prisoners were captured in this battle, there were still over 120 people. Through several battles, the remaining enemy force outside Hanyang City was only about 600 people, while Han Feng's coalition had over 2,000 people. Each large tribe sent about 100 people. 18 tribes meant over 1,700 people, plus a few small tribes asking to join. The total number exceeded 2,000. Han Feng looked at the moon in the sky, calculating the time. He knew more than a week left until the first rice harvest of Hanyang City. The harvest could not be delayed. Han Feng decided tomorrow would be the day of the decisive battle. That night, Han Feng had the eagle deliver a letter to Hanyang City, informing the defenders. Tomorrow they would coordinate the attack, completely destroy the enemy, and clearly stated the operation plan for tomorrow. The next morning, Han Feng left over 300 people at the camp, guarding over 430 prisoners. Then he led over 1,900 people, marching gallantly towards Hanyang City, including 1,800 coalition troops and over 100 elite warriors of the Han tribe. The army began marching when the sky was still dim, until about 3 in the afternoon, when about to leave the forest. Han Feng halted the team. He knew everyone was tired, needed to eat something to replenish stamina, so the warriors took out dry rations made in the morning. There was rice and roasted meat, eating voraciously, after resting for an hour. By 5 in the afternoon, the army from 2 directions, southwest and southeast, like 2 sharp knives, rushed out of the forest, forming a pincer movement, surrounding the enemy to the west of Hanyang City. The defenders on the Hanyang City wall, seeing Han Feng leading the Grand Army, cheered and rejoiced. The enemy had besieged the city for over 10 days. They longed for reinforcements day and night. Now, the chief finally led the coalition here. Everyone's heart was filled with joy. As for the enemy outside Hanyang City, seeing so many people rushing out of the forest, were instantly stunned. Perhaps by now, they realized why the warriors sent to hunt had vanished without a trace. Even the 200 people sent to search yesterday didn't return. Now, seeing so many people, no need to think anymore. It was definitely caused by this group of people. It was just that they couldn't understand why these people were their enemies. Just as the enemy was bewildered, the opposing army dispersed to both sides, making way for 2 giant elephants slowly stepping out. On the elephant's back was a man wearing a golden crown. It's him. It's him. It's that guy. Those are our 2 elephants. The autumn before last, we lost 2 elephants in the dark forest. At that time, our whole team was defeated. Only 3 of us escaped. The 2 elephants were also lost. Didn't expect them to be captured by him. A cannibal warrior who had attacked the tree tribe shouted loudly in the crowd. On his shoulder, there was a round scar that was caused by Han Feng's arrow. But at that time, Han Feng's arrow didn't have an arrowhead, so the wound wasn't very severe. He was able to escape. He even brought the arrow back to the tribe, which led to the later events. But his shouting didn't cause much reaction. Whoever the man in front was, to the cannibals, they were all enemies. The cannibals reacted very quickly, seeing many enemies appear. Immediately, someone looking like a captain called people at the east and north gates, gathering all warriors guarding the 4 city gates, together resisting the enemy in the west. Han Feng saw their actions and didn't stop them, thinking, saves effort herding them together. Easier to catch. When over 600 warriors and a dozen apes gathered at the west gate, the east gate suddenly burst open. From inside, rushed out about 1,500 Han tribesmen, including both men and women, holding all kinds of weapons. There were early Han tribe bronze spears, also bronze shovels, axes, even wooden sticks. Over 1,000 people rushed out of the east gate, immediately split into two paths, surrounding from the south and north, blocking the retreat of the enemy at the west gate. This scene made the enemy turn pale. They didn't expect there were so many people in the city. Although they had besieged the city for many days, they still didn't know exactly how many people were inside. You have so many people. Why didn't you come out to fight earlier? Kept hiding in the city. Now it's great. Outside is crowded. Inside is even more crowded. Do you want to drive us to death? At this moment, those warriors just wanted to cry. Retreat blocked. They had completely fallen into a dead end. Right at that moment, opposite where the sun was setting, Vice Captain Shuya rode a horse, waved a large flag in his hand vigorously. The bright red flag fluttered in the wind. That was the signal for the general attack for Hanyang City defenders. War drums on the watchtower sounded. A series of rustling sounds rang out. At the battlements on the west wall, suddenly appeared many figures. Those were the female archers of the early Han tribe, along with archers trained later, totaling over 100 people. Besides, there were many ordinary tribesmen. Even adults of the snake tribe appeared on the wall. Han Feng signaled Shuya to change the flag-waving motion. The drums on the west wall also stopped. Immediately after, hundreds of arrows like rain shot straight towards the dozen apes at the foot of the wall. The tips of these arrows were all dipped in anesthetic bought from the mushroom tribe, aiming to kill immediately. These monsters with amazing combat power. The sound of arrows piercing flesh thudded. More than half of the man-apes quickly collapsed. The remaining few fled in panic. They couldn't attack the people on the wall. Had tried many times these past days, so the only way was to run out. But outside was an encirclement of over 2,000 people. Han Feng's bows, arrows, and spears attacked continuously. The apes were quickly, completely wiped out. The remaining warriors were even more panicked. They began to retreat gradually, until backing up to the west moat bank. No way back. However, there were also some cowardly warriors. Jumped into the moat, intending to swim out of the encirclement. But right at that moment, archers on the wall took action again. They shot straight down into the moat. Those trying to escape were shot dead on the spot. As for those tribesmen without bows and arrows, also took this opportunity to throw down all the stones accumulated over the past few days at once, directly smashing onto the enemy troops below the west wall. Attacked unexpectedly. Many enemies were hit. It wasn't that they didn't want to dodge, but front and back were people. No place to run. However, being pushed by others, the crowd was forced to move forward, away from the city wall, avoiding being hit by stones. But this played right into Han Feng's hands. The enemy moved forward, creating space for the west gate. War drums sounded again. Amidst the rapid drum beats, the drawbridge of the west gate was lowered. Two large gates painted red and gold burst open, revealing the cavalry team lined up neatly inside. Seeing the city gate open, those warriors intended to risk their lives rushing into the city. Maybe there was still a way to live, but they saw the gate blocked by many tall, four-legged beasts. Then Han Feng in the west waved the flag. Seemed like someone shouted something loud. Immediately after, the cavalry team, led by Sedata, charged straight into the enemy, each person riding 2 horses. 38 warriors, 76 horses, like a tornado rushing forward. At the same time at the west gate, over 100 other cavalrymen also rushed out, along with over 200 riderless cows, also running along. This scene was like mountains collapsing and earth shaking. The enemy had never seen such a formation. Terrified, fleeing in panic, over 600 enemies ran in chaos. The formation was already messy, now even more chaotic. Han Feng saw the time had come, drew his sword, charged forward. Over 3,000 Han tribe coalition troops, like a landslide rushing into the enemy. A close combat battle took place. Everyone showed their full ability. Big Rat held a saber in both hands, left hand also holding the scabbard like that, blocking and hitting, not letting the enemy get close. Every strike accompanied by the sound of whistling wind. Enemies hit were either dead or injured. Dilly held an iron axe, smashing enemy shields. Du el chevel, rushing into the enemy ranks. No one dared to approach, although Shuya was in charge of waving the flag, signaling, not directly participating in combat, but he also had his own weapon, always ready to fight. The battle ended. The Han tribe won a great victory. This battle not only wiped out many enemies, but also captured 479 prisoners. As for the coalition side, casualties were very small. Only 3 people died. Han Feng didn't intend to spare these prisoners. He had them locked up, starving them for a few days to teach them a lesson. Let them know the Han tribe is not to be trifled with. Winning the battle, of course, called for celebration. Han Feng invited the coalition into Hanyang City for a banquet. Everyone arrived at the city square. Seeing the life of the Han tribe, they were all amazed. Like Grandma Lu entering the Grandview Garden. At this time, the tribesmen of other tribes, under Han Feng's guidance, arrived at the Han tribe. Everyone was like Grandma Lu entering the Grandview Garden, finding everything strange, magical. On the streets, in the alleys, many children were running back and forth, helping their parents carry tables and chairs. Following the children was a pack of fluffy puppies. They were the offspring of the dozens of shepherd dogs Ling brought. Now only 1, 2 months old, trailing behind the kids. Some older children led warriors from other tribes to the wells at the end of the alleys to wash their faces. The warriors from other tribes were amazed by the wells. Didn't expect that just digging a deep hole in the ground could get water. Truly an eye-opener. After washing their faces, some warriors were allowed to walk around in the permitted area. If they met acquaintances from their old tribe, they would be invited home to play. A warrior from the Tiger tribe met his sister, who had married into the Han tribe. The two recognized each other. Both were very happy. The sister invited her brother home. This was an ordinary family. The husband was serving as a soldier in the barracks. Only the wife was at home. However, 2 people in one house was a bit wasteful. So there were 2 other women in the house. Both were refugees rescued from the Fire tribe. The Tiger tribe warrior followed his sister into the courtyard. Just entering, he saw a 4-year-old boy, hair tied in a ponytail, wearing an open-chested animal skin vest, animal skin pants reaching the knees. Squatting in the yard, playing with a puppy, the boy saw the stranger. Was not afraid, but didn't greet either. Just hugged the puppy. Stood there looking at the stranger. The Tiger tribe warrior smiled at the boy, curiously looking at his strange clothes. Then followed his sister into the house. In a living room, cum kitchen, a woman from the Fire tribe was lighting a fire under the stove. The large pot on the stove emitted the aroma of rice. Next to the stove was a pile of neatly stacked firewood. On the other side were 2 large jars. Lifting the wooden lid to look, one jar held clean water. The other jar was full of slightly yellow, unpolished rice. In the sister's room to the west, there was no one. On the large heated bed, there was a small, low-legged table. On the table was a ceramic kettle, white porcelain tea bowls. A small oil lamp was burning, emitting dim light. The wooden window on the south wall was closed, but it was as good as open. No window paper, no animal skin covering either. Could see outside. Wind could also blow into the house. Inside the window was a loom 1.5 meters wide. On it was a roll of unfinished linen cloth. This strange thing made the Tiger tribe warrior curious. After being guided and explained by his sister, he understood its use. The sister also said, this thing was invented by the chief, making the brother even more amazed. Didn't expect the Han tribe chief was not only good at fighting, but also multi-talented, could invent such a magical thing. Elsewhere in the Han tribe, similar scenes were taking place. Some were allowed to visit the Han tribe's wood processing workshop, watching giant windmills spinning in the wind, complex wooden gears moving automatically, finally driving a row of saw blades moving up and down, quickly sawing a log into planks, making people astonished. Some were invited to visit the Han tribe's livestock area. Sheep, antelopes, all kinds. Even the 100 Saiga antelopes bought last year had given birth to their first litter. 80 female antelopes. Each gave birth to 2 or 3 young. The scale of the Han tribe's antelope herd had increased from 100 to over 300. Han Feng was not idle either. He gathered the chiefs of the tribes. Together went up the Hanyang city wall, viewing the entire tribe from above. At this time, it was already dusk. On the city wall, warriors holding torches stood guard. This made the other chiefs envious. They were full of excitement, stepping onto the not-so-magnificent city wall. After all, It was only over 7 meters high. Couldn't compare with the massive walls of ancient times. But just this was enough to amaze them. The square residential area was divided into 9 zones by 4 large roads intersecting in a grid shape. Kitchen smoke rose from the houses. Thousands of people walked on the streets. The square in the city center was the liveliest place. Countless people were preparing for the grand celebration banquet. Looking outside the city, to the east were straight rice paddies. In the distance, separated by a small river, the dirt road in front of the city gate led straight to the wooden bridge, extending into the distance. Han Feng saw everyone had observed for a while, then asked what they thought about the Han tribe. Before, I only came to the market a few times. Saw this city from the outside. Still didn't understand why the Han chief let the tribesmen spend so much effort building this thing, until I personally stepped on the city wall. I finally saw the Han chief's foresight. The Horn tribe chief spoke first. With high walls, deep moat, it can indeed stop any enemy attack. Although it takes a lot of time and effort, but it can be passed down through generations. Protecting the tribesmen safely, peacefully, truly worth it. That's right. When the enemy besieged the city, I was inside Hanyang City. I was also allowed by the elder to go up the wall to observe. The monsters in the enemy army had strength, amazing jumping power. At first, I was worried those monsters would jump up the wall, but unexpectedly, they couldn't even reach the lowest battlement. Finally, could only helplessly fall down, and were killed in large numbers by warriors on the wall. Thinking back now, I feel extremely regretful. Our Snake tribe is so close to Hanyang City. If we had joined the Han tribe earlier, living in this solid city, we wouldn't have been exterminated. That day, the enemy suddenly attacked our tribe. We had no ability to resist. Luckily, there were tribesmen risking their lives to block the enemy. Only then could most women and children escape. Otherwise, our tribe would have been wiped out. These past few days living in the city, I understand more about the Han tribe. Turns out, tribesmen joining the Han tribe are given surnames based on their old tribe, forming a clan of their own, although they're tribesmen of the same tribe, but still keep the tribe's lineage. Not disappearing completely. Everyone living together is actually better. More people means greater strength. Could do more things. Life is also better. Therefore, I have decided, we'll lead the remaining over 200 tribesmen to join the Han tribe. Become the Snake clan of the Han tribe, so everyone can have a better life. At least not having to live in fear, afraid of enemy attacks at any time. Hope the Han chief accepts my request. The Snake tribe chief said to everyone, "Ha, if everyone is willing to join the Han tribe, I naturally welcome it. As you said, more people means greater strength. The more people, the more work can be done. I guarantee, under my leadership, my tribesmen will have an increasingly better life. Now, as the chief of the Han tribe, I officially welcome everyone to join." Han Feng solemnly responded to the Snake tribe chief's request. "Thank you, chief. From now on, my tribesmen are your tribesmen. As long as it's something we can do. Please, chief, just give orders." Having joined the Han tribe, we will strive to contribute. The Snake tribe chief heard Han Feng agree, hurriedly bowed, and said, This scene surprised the other chiefs. "What is going on? Didn't we say we came to discuss dividing the spoils? Why suddenly declare loyalty, and happily accept it like that? What exactly does this mean?" While they were still doubtful, Han Feng suddenly spoke up. He looked at the chiefs. Expression serious. "Chiefs, after many days of fighting alongside the Han tribe, I wonder if you have noticed any special points about the enemy?" "Special points? They're numerous?" The Cha tribe chief asked uncertainly. "That's right. They're numerous. More than 1,200 people. Moreover, all are adult men. Such a powerful fighting force. Even the Han tribe with over 4,000 people finds it hard to deal with. Think about it. How powerful is the enemy's tribe? Moreover, their range of activity has reached here. Cannot guarantee they won't return in the future. Who knows how many people they have left? This time, all tribes suffered losses. The Snake tribe suffered the heaviest. Now, they don't even have a home to return to. Have to join the Han tribe for refuge. So what if the enemy comes again next time? Don't know which tribe will be the next victim. This battle was summoned by me. Before, I said there would be a reward, although I used prisoners to exchange for white salt for you as a part. But when you return, I will still give another reward. Consider it compensation. However, after this, the Han tribe's market will no longer be held. Han Feng slowly stated the plan he had cherished for a long time. Initially, hearing there was still a reward. The chiefs were very happy, but Han Feng's next sentence made them feel like sitting on fire. Han Chief, if there is no market in the future, where do we go to exchange for white salt and daily necessities? That's right, Han Chief. You can't stop the market. Everyone calm down. As I said, the enemy is too strong. Even our Han tribe can hardly defend itself alone. Luckily, we have solid walls. Protecting ourselves is not a problem. But if we continue to open a market, what if the enemy attacks again? If let them rush into the city, the Han tribe will also be in danger. Moreover, there are tribesmen from other tribes coming here to trade. We also cannot guarantee their safety. Therefore, I decided to stop the market. Hanyang City will also close its gates. Only open one gate each day to ensure the safety of the tribe. Therefore, in the future, perhaps we won't be able to care for everyone anymore. I can only try to protect the Han tribesmen. They thought they would receive a generous reward. Didn't expect it to be the last charity. This time, although they benefited, but in the long run, their path has been cut off. But the reason Han Feng gave was not wrong. To ensure the safety of the tribesmen. No other way. Facing danger, naturally must prioritize protecting one's own people. Could they hope he would protect them first? But Han Chief, your tribe cannot defeat the enemy alone. But if we join forces, we can. Next time, if the enemy comes again, we will send people to help. No need to stop the market. The Tiger Tribe Chief said, that is also a way. But it can't always be done. What if next time the enemy is more numerous? What if our Han tribe is besieged in the city? How can we notify you to come rescue? This time, our warriors happen to be outside. Didn't encounter the enemy directly, so they could report to you. But who knows if it will be like that next time? Moreover, our Han tribe making these goods is not easy either. Normally, trading with you for raw materials is fine, but every time asking for your help, the reward is too big. We can't always do that. Han Feng used to defeat. But if the enemy comes again, the Han tribe has walls to defend. But if they can't do anything to you, then they will turn to attack the surrounding tribes. The Zhou tribe chief said worriedly. Han Feng waved his hand, looking helpless. I also have no other choice. I can only prioritize protecting my tribesmen. If your tribes are attacked, and you can offer a reward, then the Han tribe can also send troops to help. But the prerequisite is that Hanyang City is not besieged. Can send troops. The chiefs heard this, frowned or rolled their eyes, asking the Han tribe to send troops, let alone not being able to offer a worthy reward. Even if they could offer it, by the time they sent someone to Hanyang City to report, then the Han tribe sent troops to rescue. I fear before arriving, their tribe would have been destroyed already. Isn't this a joke? They don't have horses, don't have eagles for quick communication, also don't have solid cities like the Han tribe to hold out waiting for reinforcements. How can they hold out until reinforcements arrive? Therefore, what Han Feng said was as good as nothing. The surrounding chiefs were deep in thought. What to do now? What if the enemy comes again? Just sit and wait for death. Or move. But move where? Abandon fields. Abandon the land ancestors lived on for generations? Moreover, even if moving to another place, cannot guarantee there are no enemies. Also losing the supply of white salt. Looking at the solid wall under their feet. On this dangerous land, perhaps only inside this city is the safest. Combined with the Snake Tribe Chief's decision just now, and the sentence Han Feng kept repeating, I can only prioritize protecting my tribesmen. The choice before them was too clear. One is to accept a generous compensation, then fend for themselves, sink or swim, or join the Han tribe, be provided with free supplies, live in the city, become tribesmen of the Han tribe, forever protected. Moreover, heard the Snake Tribe Chief say, the Han tribe will give surnames to the joining tribes, although being Han tribesmen, but still keeping their own lineage, not completely assimilated. The benefits of joining are really great. Comparing like that, some chiefs immediately made a decision. Han Chief, our Tooth tribe doesn't need a reward this time. Our tribe is small, no ability to build a city to protect ourselves, also cannot move to a strange place. Even less able to leave the Han tribe's supply of goods. Rather join the Han tribe than be destroyed by the enemy. After thinking carefully, the Tooth tribe chief was the first to agree to join the Han tribe. I naturally welcome you. This way, our strength will be even stronger. The stronger the strength, the higher the ability to resist the enemy. Welcome to the Han tribe. Tomorrow, I will send people in carts to help you move, so you can live in Hanyang City soon. Live and work in peace. Han Feng immediately agreed. Another tribe joined the Han tribe. Other chiefs started thinking, still hesitating, but seeing people walking on the streets in the city. Houses close together. Kitchen smoke rising. More people quickly decided. Hanyang City is only so big. The number of people it can hold is limited. If late, even if wanting to join the Han tribe, there might be no space. Immediately after, the chiefs of the Fly tribe, Cave tribe, and Cloud tribe also stood up successively, unanimously expressing their wish to join the Han tribe. The three chiefs were stunned. Didn't expect others to stand up with them. What to do now? Hanyang City is only so big. Will there be enough space for their tribes? The more they thought, the more they wanted to join the Han tribe. The three hurriedly begged Han Feng to allow them to live in Hanyang City. To be protected. Haha. Thank you, three chiefs, for your trust. You are willing to join the Han tribe. I welcome you very much. Although Hanyang City doesn't have much empty space left, but I will definitely arrange for you. After all, in the future, your tribesmen are also my tribesmen. I will protect them with all my heart. Moreover, after this matter, to better protect the Han tribe, I decided to recruit more elite warriors. Expand the army. Whoever is chosen will be equipped with powerful weapons like Han tribe warriors. Those who were chiefs like you will also be gifted a special weapon. Han Feng smiled and said to the three. Seeing the three people just made a decision, plus Hanyang City having limited space, along with Han Feng's promise of recruitment, expanding the army, equipped with advanced weapons. Chiefs also gifted personal weapons, making many other chiefs unable to sit still. Han Chief, our Tiger tribe also wants to join. Can I also get a powerful weapon? The Tiger tribe chief was also a young man, about over 20 years old, looking about the same age as Shuya. In a battle just now, he had noticed the powerful weapons of the Han tribe soldiers. Now, let alone a personal weapon, even if joining the army, having a steel saber, he would be satisfied. Seeing the Tiger tribe chief speak up, the Horn tribe, which had good relations with the Tiger tribe, also decided. Han Chief, our Horn tribe also wants to join the Han tribe. The tribe can raise so many livestock. Surely better than us who only know how to raise antelopes. In the future, we want to learn from the chief. Raising livestock for the Han tribe. Welcome to join. You will definitely like life in the Han tribe. I guarantee to let every tribesman have a job they love. Han Feng said happily. The Horn tribe joining was extremely important, not only because they were populous, but also because they had thousands of saiga antelopes. This was what Han Feng cared about most. Among more than 20 chiefs, 7 had already expressed their intention to join the Han tribe. Moreover, they were all large tribes. Population at least about 300 people. That's not counting tribes like the Horn tribe, specializing in raising antelopes. Population reached nearly 600 people, although the average population of each tribe was not high. But these 7 tribes combined had about 2,500 to 2,600 people, which surely helped the Han tribe step up to a new level. Among more than 20 chiefs, only 17 tribes had a population of about 300 people. The remaining tribes' population was about 100 people. Among them were 4 small tribes, less than 100 people, had expressed intention to join the Han tribe before the war broke out, plus the 7 newly joined tribes. The number of people added reached nearly 3,000. Han Feng was extremely excited. Hanyang City currently had over 4,000 people. Plus these 3,000 people. The total population of the Han tribe was finally about to surpass 4 digits. Stabilizing his emotions, Han Feng looked at the remaining chiefs. Now, by stopping trade at the market, he had driven them into a corner, not joining the Han tribe. In the future, there will be no white salt to eat. We'll have to return to the miserable life before. Also have to face the enemy. Therefore, as long as not stupid, most will choose to join the Han tribe. After all, who doesn't want to live comfortably? Even if they don't agree, their tribesmen, visiting the city, surely won't bear to leave. Sigh, the remaining chiefs, looking at other chiefs who just joined the Han tribe, then looking at Hanyang City already packed with people, secretly lamenting in their hearts. Now, even if wanting to join the Han tribe, fear there is no space left. Han Chief, our Zhou tribe also wants to join the Han tribe. It's just that I see Hanyang City isn't very big. Already has a lot of people. Now, adding so many people, will there be enough living space? The Zhou tribe chief asked worriedly. She regretted a bit. Why didn't she speak earlier? Now it's great. What if they don't accept anymore? Other chiefs also stared at Han Feng, Clearly, this was also the question they wanted to know. At this time, the remaining chiefs were worried in their hearts. Current housing of the Han tribe couldn't hold thousands more tribesmen. After Han Feng explained thoroughly, those chiefs finally felt relieved. In their hearts, they also admired his leadership ability very much. Their tribes, at most, only had 600 people. Arranging daily work already gave them a headache. Yet Han Feng could manage a tribe of thousands of people orderly. Everyone had work to do. The tribe became increasingly prosperous. Now, with more tribes joining, population increased significantly. But Han Feng seemed to feel it wasn't enough people. The Han tribe always had work to do, but that was good too. They didn't need to worry about what to do. Just needed to complete the assigned tasks well. Everyone believed Han Feng would definitely lead the Han tribe to become stronger and stronger. All questions were answered. The chiefs had their answers. So most chiefs decided to join the Han tribe. Finally, only 3 people were still hesitant. But seeing everyone had joined, they had to follow suit. This made Han Feng extremely happy. Just counting large tribes, over 300 people. 17 tribes had joined. Total population increased to about 5,700 to 5,800 people, plus a few small tribes actively asking to join. Population exceeded 6,000 people, even more than the initial population of the Han tribe. Thus, the total population of the Han tribe exceeded 10,000 people, becoming a super large tribe. That's not counting over 1,100 captured slaves. However, the Han tribe was now populous, powerful. The slaves couldn't cause trouble. After dealing with the chiefs, Han Feng was very happy, led them to join the celebration banquet. At the city center square, tribesmen gathered fully. Families brought food. The main dish was rice, although there was no whole roasted meat. But there was mutton soup stewed with cabbage, rich and greasy, very suitable for large gatherings. Han Feng sat at the main table. The table was full of rich dishes. Mutton soup stewed with cabbage, eggs fried with green peppers, eggs fried with tomatoes, pork stir-fried with dried long beans. There were also fried peanuts. These dishes were taught to Xiao Dai by Han Feng, now became familiar dishes of the whole city. The chiefs ate delicious dishes they had never tasted, secretly feeling lucky to have joined the Han tribe. Just these delicious dishes alone made it worth it. While eating, the chiefs asked about moving. Han Feng said, 8 more days. Hanyang City's rice will be ripe. At that time, it will take a whole month to finish harvesting. They can plant the second crop. Their tribes also planted rice, only half a month slower than the Han tribe. So finish harvesting at the end of the month. We'll move. Han Feng also specifically reminded the Horn tribe. They didn't plant rice, but raised antelopes. Could move immediately. Han Feng also sent a team to help them, ensuring the Saiga antelopes could arrive at the Han tribe safely. After the banquet, the chiefs and their warriors stayed in the city to rest. Early the next morning, Han Feng sent a team to help the Horn tribe move, conveniently bringing those thousands of Saiga antelopes back. Other tribes returned to prepare. Wait until after harvest to move. Han Feng also sent another team to escort prisoners and women to the new city, preparing for them to participate in construction. A few days later, Han Feng received news from Yu Yi, reporting the walls of the new city were almost complete, although city gates weren't installed yet, but could use wooden fences to block temporarily. Currently, the new city had over 300 laborers. The number was still constantly increasing. The speed of wall construction was very fast. Han Feng received news from Yufu again, saying they had exchanged for 280 cows and 450 horses. Also bought a lot of wool. Yufu asked if Han Feng had any instructions. Han Feng told them to bring the livestock straight to the new city. As for wool and animal skins, transport them to Hanyang City for processing. Currently, it was mid-April. Rice in Hanyang City was fully ripe. Rice fields stretched out in a golden color. Tribesmen harvested enthusiastically. New rice yield gave the Han tribe an abundant food source. Another month, rice of other tribes would also ripen. By then, they would bring a large amount of food moving here. The food problem of the new city would also be solved. Feeding tens of thousands of people was not a simple matter. One day, consuming several tons of rice. Fortunately, Yufu brought back quite a few livestock. The Han tribe could reclaim more land. Han Feng planned within a month and a half to complete the relocation of all tribesmen. Within 3 months, reclaim 3,000 mu of rice fields in the new city area. ensure by this winter, the new city area can be self-sufficient in food. At the same time, reserve enough feed for livestock through winter. Rice harvesting in the Han tribe took place vigorously. In just 1 or 2 days, streets and squares in the city were piled with rice. After drying, rice would be stored in the warehouse. Harvesting lasted 8 days. Then came the stage of plowing and harrowing, fertilizing, sowing for the second crop. While the Han tribe was busy with farm work, Big Rat led the Horn tribe members back, totaling 580 people, also over 3,100 Saiga antelopes. Only then did Han Feng feel assured. With these antelopes, this winter, no need to worry about lacking meat. After the Horn tribe joined, Han Feng let them rest in Hanyang City first. In the evening, during the meal, he asked the opinion of Hanyang natives. See if anyone wanted to move to the new city. Currently, the new city only had rammed earth walls. Everything else was not there yet. Going there meant building houses, reclaiming land, farming. Work was very heavy, but there were also advantages. Houses in the new city were twice as large as houses in Hanyang City. Could build 5 main rooms, also separate kitchen and side rooms. Finally, over 70 households in Hanyang City and 80 households of the Horn tribe decided to move to the new city. The remaining 50 households moved into empty houses in Hanyang City. Among those moving to the new city, there were quite a few craftsmen from workshops. Arriving at the new city, they could quickly organize new tribesmen to start production. To make the new city quickly operational, Han Feng also told the workshop to urgently make a set of windmills and automatic wood saws for them to bring to the new city to build workshops. This way, the new city could process wood itself. No need to transport from Hanyang City. At the same time, they also brought a large amount of seeds and farm tools, preparing to reclaim agricultural land. After these people set off, Anfeng Sensuya, Big Rat, and Blood Butcher each led a team to other tribes to deliver sickles, helping them harvest rice quickly. After all, before, these tribes didn't have money to buy sickles. Harvesting themselves was extremely slow, would delay Han Feng's migration plan. As the population of the new city increased, work also increased. Han Feng felt the need to send a capable manager there. He thought for a long time, decided to transfer Dashu, who was mining at Babeo Mountain back. Dashu had followed Han Feng for a long time. Ability was also good. Before, when Han Feng was absent, he was also the temporary manager. Han Feng immediately sent a letter by Eagle, calling Dashu back, told Bayu to go to Babeo Mountain to replace him. After Dashu returned, Han Feng planned to let him go to the new city as a manager, conveniently replacing Yu Yi. Bringing him back, Han Feng had other arrangements for Yu Yi. Yu Yi was like his brother, liked to travel here and there. Initially, letting him build the market. He was interested, but later found it boring. Every day, just supervising others working, paying wages. Therefore, if Yu Yi wanted to go, Han Feng would indulge him. After several attacks by the Cannibal tribe, Han Feng felt the situation was very dangerous, decided to send an elite team north to scout, find the lair of the Cannibal tribe, see if they could attack them. If could wipe them all out, even better. But the difficulty was too great. Immediate goal was to scout the enemy situation clearly. This team not only had to scout, but also draw maps. Han Feng realized. Until now, the Han tribe still didn't have a decent map. Drawing maps was not a simple matter. Needed knowledge of mathematics, geography, and technical drawing. Most importantly, must have a compass. That is the south-pointing needle. Without a compass, only relying on the sun to determine direction, the drawn map would have huge errors. Fortunately, the Han tribe currently had materials to make a compass, copper and magnets. Han Feng had people use pure steel, make a diamond-shaped needle, use natural magnetite to rub the iron to create magnetism, then use copper to cast a round base. The copper base had a diameter of 9 cm, engraved with 8 directions and 360 degrees. In the middle was a small hole to fix the magnetic needle. Could also insert a small iron rod to determine direction by sun shadow when a magnetic needle lost magnetism. With this tool, map drawing would be more reliable. The compass Han Feng made was really useful, especially in places with strong magnetic fields like the northern Salt Lake area. Magnetic needles easily lost magnetism, but sunlight was not affected by magnetic fields. Therefore, using sun shadows to determine direction was the safest way. Han Feng had people make a wooden carrying case. To hold it, he also used the pole erecting method, observing sun shadows to find true south, true north. The shortest sun shadow in a day is true north. Through this method, he also measured the magnetic declination of this planet. Finally, the compass was usable. Regardless of spring, the direction of the sun's shadow did not change. This was the most reliable method. Having the compass. Next was preparing tools for map drawing, especially landmarks. This was indispensable. Han Feng also selected a few people, taught them basic geography and math knowledge. The simplest map drawing method is using scale and grid division. For example, map scale is 1 to 10,000. 10 cm on the map corresponds to 1 km in reality. First, divide the map into 10 cm squares. Then, in the field, set landmarks to determine coordinates. Then use tape measure and compass to determine the other 3 points. This way, you could draw a square on the map. Then slowly expand until filling the entire map. This method, although simple, but also had drawbacks. For example, cannot measure altitude when encountering high mountains. Hills, there was no way. However, with current conditions, being able to draw rough terrain was already very good. Could leave blank spaces where there were contour lines. Note it down. Later, when conditions allow, we'll supplement. Drawing like this, the map would be very large. One piece of animal skin might not draw much, but it's okay. Just let surveyors draw in detail. Han Feng would compile into a large-scale map. This way you could see the panoramic view of the area. After planning, wait for tribesmen to finish moving. Tribe stabilized. Han Feng would send Yi to survey. Draw maps to keep him from getting bored. 2 days later, Dashu returned to Hanyang City. Han Feng assigned a simple task to him. Told him to be in charge of managing the new city area. If there was anything he didn't understand, send a letter to ask Han Feng. Dashu happily agreed, only asked to bring his wife and children. Han Feng agreed. 3 days later, Dashu arrived at the new city area. Finally replaced Yi. Yi rode a horse, galloping back to Hanyang City. Just met on Feng. Complained, Chief. Finally you let me come back. That new city is too boring. Nothing there. I wasn't even allowed to go out. Every day, just watching laborers work. About to get bored to death. Hanyang City is much livelier. Whatever you ask me to do is fine. Han Feng glared at him. Calmly said, aren't there many things to do there? You were free, didn't know to help them? Yi hurriedly explained. I naturally did work, Chief. You must believe me. I wasn't lazy at all. It's just that surrounding tribes kept coming to find me. You assigned me to be in charge of the market. Recruiting laborers. I couldn't just work, ignoring them. Han Feng said nothing. Led him for a walk on the city wall. Asked him if many people came looking for work. Yi giggled. Said, people from other tribes. At first didn't trust the Han tribe. Worked one day, paid one day. They were afraid of being cheated. But a few days later, they got addicted to Han tribe food. Yi followed the method Han Feng taught. Stir-fried vegetables with peanut oil. Fragrance overflowing, making people from other tribes eat deliciously. Not even sparing vegetable leaves. Some even wrapped food in bowls. Brought back for family. A few days later, more people came, even bringing a few women. Yi told them to help cook. They didn't need white salt, just needed rice. Every time accumulated enough 10 caddies of rice. They would take turns bringing it back to the tribe. Yi inquired. Found out after the Han tribe moved here. Wild beasts around decreased significantly. Their warriors couldn't hunt prey. Children in the tribe were all hungry. Yi saw this was a good opportunity to attract more people. So, told them to bring their children. Older children did light work. Fed 3 meals. Small children were also fed. Result, those tribes brought all their children. Older children herded sheep. Small children followed mothers. Gradually adults, women, children all came. Those tribes saw the Han tribe kept promises. Working meant having food, could even save a little. So decisively moved here. Yi proudly said to Han Feng. Now, several tribes have moved here. They found working here, although hard, but better than starving. Han Feng heard this, very satisfied. This was exactly the way to attract people without much effort. He smiled and said to Yi, you did very well. Why don't want to stay there anymore? Or should I send you back? Yi heard this, hurriedly shook his head. Don't, Chief. I just am not used to staying in one place too long. How about you let me follow my brother to the Yi grassland? Han Feng shook his head. The grassland has your brother leading the team, enough already. I have a new mission for you. But conditions are a bit harsh. Also a bit dangerous. Afraid you dare not accept. You heard this. Eyes lit up, Chief. I'm not afraid of hardship. Also not afraid of danger. Quickly tell me what mission it is. I want you to scout the Cannibal tribe area in the north. Conveniently draw a map. Are you willing? Yi scratched his head. Scouting cannibals is fine. But what is drawing a map? Han Feng explained it. A map is drawing rivers and mountains. Terrain on animal skin. Marking locations of tribes. Before, didn't you and your brother have one? Yi understood. Immediately stood straight. Chief, rest assured. I guarantee to complete the mission. A few days later, Han Feng selected 11 people from the tribesmen, plus Yi, forming a 12-person team. Among these people, some were good at communication. Some had rich survival experience in the wild. Archers, warriors. Some knew how to write. Also some good at drawing. Han Feng led them daily to learn how to use a compass, scale, coordinates, and other map drawing knowledge. He also took them to the field, surveying terrain around Hanyang City, using mud to make terrain models. Wait until they learned quite a bit. Han Feng started preparing equipment for them. Besides landmarks, there were survival knives, long-bladed military shovels, and most importantly, bows and arrows. Han Feng had the carpentry workshop research, making recurve bows and crossbows. This time, let the scout team carry them for field testing. More than half a month later, the scout team finished training. Yi was impatient to lead people to set off. 12 people, each with 2 horses, carrying daily necessities. Landmarks, bows, arrows, and crossbows, eagerly setting off north. At this time, Yi led 12 tribesmen of the survey team, gallantly setting off north. Han Feng also led people to the new city to check the arrangement of newly joined tribesmen. When Han Feng arrived, it was almost dark. Many tribesmen, after a hard day's work, began to rest. Next was the dinner they looked forward to most. Many people saw Han Feng, greeted him. Dashu received the news, hurriedly ran out to welcome. He walked, smiling and reporting work to Han Feng. Now reclaimed quite a large piece of land. 900 slaves transferred here, were all assigned to dig rivers. This time, to speed up progress, all ditches were dug 2 meters wide, 2 meters deep, just enough to lead water. Soil dug up temporarily piled there. Wait until after sowing. We'll build brick kilns. Currently, most tribesmen are busy plowing fields. All cows and horses are used to pull plows. If not enough, even have to use people to pull plows. Currently reclaimed 600 mu. Within a month. Certainly will complete the goal of 3,000 mu. Han Feng heard this, nodded with satisfaction, then asked about vegetable planting. Dashu hurriedly pointed to the north of the small city, explained, fields north of the city. Planted some cabbage. However, now a bit short. Having people continue reclaiming. Planning to plant more long beans and loofah. Will replenish enough soon. Next, Han Feng asked about the situation of newly joined tribesmen and tribes coming to work in exchange for food. Dashu answered seriously. Newly joined tribesmen complained a bit because no houses to live in yet. Have to live in grass huts. However, they like the mats we distributed very much. Now, weather is hot. Sleeping outdoors is fine. As for our city wall, they like it very much. After all, they joined the Han tribe because afraid of enemy attacks. Being able to sleep in the city, they feel much safer. Everyone works very enthusiastically, especially land reclamation. They used to farm. So no food is most important. No one dares to be lazy. They get to use metal farm tools. Also have cows and horses to assist. Compared to before, when using bone tools, stone tools, it's much better. Everyone is very happy. 2 people walked and talked. Arrived at the riverbank. Han Feng asked about the Cha tribe situation. This river is so wide. Fish must be plentiful. Has the Cha tribe started fishing? Dashu replied. They fished a few times, but harvest wasn't much. So I told them to pause temporarily. Focus on plowing fields. Cha tribe chief said, river too deep. They can't stand in water to use spears to catch fish. I let our tribesmen use baskets or small nets to catch. Also didn't get much. River too wide. Fish don't come near shore. I'm calculating if can build a few more boats this year to facilitate fishing. Han Feng heard this, thought for a moment, then said, this is indeed a problem. You don't need to worry. Let me arrange. Hanyang City has a wood processing workshop. Wait for an opportunity. We'll send people to bring parts here to assemble boats. As for building boats here, Must wait for the carpentry workshop here to finish, then consider. Two people talked while walking. Just walked into the city. In the northwest corner of the city was a very large sheep pen. Thousands of full antelopes were resting. In the southwest was a large grass hut area. Mats were spread under the huts. People were sitting eating rice. In the city center was also a large tent. Inside built several simple earthen stoves. In front was a long line waiting for food. Han Feng wasn't in a hurry. Told Da Shu to get food for him while he walked around the grass hut area, observing tribesmen eating rice. Under a low hut, several children were sitting on mats, eating dinner. Han Feng walked in front of them. The children immediately became tense. Timidly asked him, "Are you the chief of the Han tribe?" Han Feng smiled and replied, "That's right. How do you know?" The child said innocently, "My mom told me. The person riding the huge monster, wearing clothes, is the chief of this tribe." Han Feng asked further, "So you're not from our tribe? Do you like our tribe? Want to become people of our tribe?" The child's eyes lit up. "I want to. Your tribe's rice is delicious. I want to eat every day. But I have to follow my mom. Cannot join your tribe. Does your mom want to join our tribe?" The child hugged the rice bowl, shouted to a woman walking over, "Mom, come here. He wants to ask you." That woman was about over 20 years old. Hearing her child call, seeing a strange young man wearing a golden crown, wearing linen clothes, standing there, she froze, hurriedly ran over, expression a bit awkward. Seeing this, Han Feng asked, "In the Han tribe, do you get enough to eat? Is work tiring?" The woman nervously replied, "Yes, every day, after sharing rice with everyone. Still leftovers. I alone cannot finish eating." Han Feng nodded. "How do you find the Han tribe? Want to stay in the Han tribe?" The woman immediately said, happily, she wanted to stay. "The Han tribe has many people, also many good things. I heard the chief say, we have to work here until autumn. If by then, the land really grows rice, he will lead the whole tribe here." Hearing her say that, Han Feng understood the thoughts of these laborers. Generally, they all wanted to join the Han tribe, but because never farmed before, wanted to see farming results with their own eyes, so hadn't decided yet. Han Feng also sympathized. After all, this wasn't a big deal. Wait until they get used to life in the Han tribe. I fear, even chasing them back to live in poverty, they wouldn't agree. Understanding this clearly, Han Feng also felt assured. Went to find Da Shu for dinner. Those who worked hard all day also started eating rice, resting, enjoying the hard-earned meal. The next day, Han Feng still stayed in the new city. Carefully checked the work situation of tribesmen, meeting anyone not doing well. He would personally guide, just like that, until the first batch of rice seeds was sown. At this time, a letter brought by an eagle from Hanyang City arrived. The letter said the merchant team, led by Yu Fu, had returned. Currently camped at the former settlement of the Chestnut tribe, waiting for Han Feng's instructions. Han Feng immediately wrote a reply, told Shaman Shu to send people to receive the merchant team's carts, bring animal skins and wool back to Hanyang City to produce wool fabric. Besides, send a team to escort Yu Fu, merchant team, along with the cows and horses they exchanged to the new city. After all, only here had enough pasture to feed such a large number of livestock. Moreover, the new city under construction also needed a lot of draft power. This was what Han Feng had discussed with Yu Fu beforehand. Letter reached Shaman Shu. He knew Han Feng didn't want to return, had to send people to follow orders. Several carts of goods were taken back to Hanyang City. Warriors who had been to the new city rode horses, leading Yu Fu and others east. This group didn't carry anything, all riding horses, marching lightly. Only took 1 day to reach the new city. 280 cows, 450 horses, totaling over 700 livestock, suddenly appearing in the new city, startled the newly joined tribesmen and laborers working there. But they quickly turned to amazement and excitement. After all, these livestock not only help humans work, but were also abundant sources of meat and skins. Instantly, the whole new city was excited. Yu Fu quickly found Han Feng. He smilingly introduced a few strange faces in the merchant team. At this time, Han Feng realized Yu Fu brought people from the grassland back again. Yu Fu bowed, then happily said, "After so many days apart, finally you returned. Didn't expect. Just a few months. Our second city already has such scale. These people are all tribesmen newly joining our tribe." Han Feng smilingly led them into the city. Found a tent to sit down. Yu Fu began to report. Trading went quite smoothly, thanks to Ling Feng. We didn't have to grope around like before. This time, tribes trading with us were all led by Ling Feng. These dozen people are all Ling Feng's friends. Their circumstances are similar to his. They knew Ling Feng joined the Han tribe, living very well, so also came here. Want to join our tribe. These dozen people, including both men and women. Hearing Yu Fu say the young man, wearing a golden crown in front, was the chief, hurriedly stood up to bow, calling chief in broken Han language. Probably learned along the way. They knew very little Han language. Han Feng also greeted them, said a few words of welcome, then told them to sit down. Continued listening to Yu Fu's report. Han Feng drank a sip of water. This trade. Anything else happen? Did those nomadic tribes say anything about our goods? Or say what they wanted? We go to the grassland once, not easily. Next time, can bring more goods. Diversify types. To exchange for more benefits. Yu Fu heard this. Eyes lit up, as if suddenly remembering something. Hurriedly said, they want a lot of things. Most importantly, horse gear. Especially stirrups and saddles. Besides, ox carts. Nomadic tribes often have to move. If have a few large carts. Then moving house. Transporting things will be more convenient. They also want long sabers. Although never used before. But the scissors we sold them were also made of iron. They like iron weapons very much. This time, iron pots brought along were also very popular. Although price a bit high, but all sold out. I think next time can bring more. Han Feng heard this and pondered. Horse gear, carts, iron weapons. These three things cannot be sold to them casually. At this time, Yu Fu suddenly frowned, as if remembering something. Face sad. All right, chief. This trade. We also encountered an unpleasant thing. I worry trading on the grassland will encounter difficulties later. Seeing him like that, Han Feng also frowned. Hurriedly asked, what unpleasant thing? Yu Fu said, this time they traded. With 7 tribes. When trading with a tribe in the southeast. He took out white salt and pottery, but they didn't need it. Iron pots, scissors they needed. Finally only exchanged for a few animal skins and wool. Cows only exchanged for a few. Hearing Yu Fu say that, Han Feng worried even more. Yu Fu didn't dilly-dally. Immediately took 3 things out of the animal skin bag. Placed in front of Han Feng. This made Han Feng almost scream in surprise. First was a bamboo tube as thick as an arm. Inside half the tube were white granules. Han Feng brought it to his nose to smell. A salty smell of the sea rushed into his nose. Han Feng pinched a little and put it in his mouth to taste. Then spat it out with a puff. Isn't this sea salt? Before Han Feng could say anything more, Yu Fu took out another thing, making Han Feng's jaw almost drop. Because the thing he took out was a large white metal bowl. Shiny. The bowl was very large. Bowl interior smooth. Could be used as a mirror. Outside was engraved with patterns and hieroglyphs Han Feng didn't understand. On the bowl painted figures of several people. One person holding the bowl. Bowl mouth facing the sky. One person holding a torch placed in front of the bowl mouth. Others kneeling on the ground, reverently watching this scene. Han Feng naturally understood this picture depicted using sunlight to get fire. This is the phenomenon of light reflection in physics. Not discussing this picture of getting heavenly fire. Just talking about the bowl. It had strong reflective ability. Holding it felt very heavy. Han Feng bit the bowl rim. Found it quite soft. This was clearly a silver bowl. By this time, Han Feng could draw a conclusion from these 2 things. There is a tribe living near the sea. They know how to make sea salt. Moreover, there's a lot of bamboo there. They use bamboo as containers. And nearby, there's also a silver mine. They know metallurgy techniques. Smelting metal. Looking at the quality and design of this silver bowl. Their level is still very high. This didn't surprise Han Feng too much. Because silver is a metal with stable chemical properties. Exists in nature in elemental form. Meaning can find silver nuggets or silver sand. However, that is only a minority. Most silver exists as or in silver mines. Moreover, silver's melting point is quite low. Just need over 960 degrees to melt into liquid. Just need them to know how to burn charcoal. Wanted to reach this temperature is absolutely no problem. Or maybe, they even have coal mines. It must be known. The Han tribe smelting copper needs a temperature of at least 1,500 degrees. With a melting point below 1,000 degrees. Clearly silver is easier for primitive people to discover and use. This is also understandable. Then the question arises. A tribe worshipping heavenly fire. This is Han Feng's guess. Because they painted the scene of getting heavenly fire on the bowl. Surely this is something important to be painted on it. Just like Han characters of the Han tribe. Also very important things. They make sea salt themselves, then use bamboo tubes to contain it. Running to the grassland to compete for business with him. Damn it. Even in primitive times. Have to encounter competitors. Just relying on existing information. Can also see this is definitely a powerful tribe. Han Feng held the bowl in one hand. The other hand holding the bamboo tube of sea salt. Thought for a moment, then asked Yu Fu. Besides these things, do you know any other useful information? For example, do they have carts? Do they know farming? Do they know weaving cloth? Any other metals? Yu Fu recalled. Said, this matter I also asked. They don't have carts. When going to trade, they ride horses. Each horse carries 2 large baskets and some other things. Those coming to the grassland don't have carts. As for whether their tribe has or not, I don't know. Weaving cloth, probably not. People of nomadic tribes said they were clothes made of animal skins or felt. Felt probably learned from nomadic tribes. Other metals probably don't have. They only bring this type of bowl to nomadic tribes. Moreover, I heard, this bowl is not used for eating rice. As for what it's used for, I don't know. Food probably have. I heard people of nomadic tribes say. They saw those people eating a type of round seed. Very dry and hard. Can be kept for a very long time. Also a type of yellow seed. I have never seen it. Just heard them say. Heard they have food. Han Feng immediately rejoiced. Hurriedly asked Yu Fu. Nomadic tribes don't have it. Did you exchange with them? Yu Fu shook his head. Expression regretful. He knew food was very important. Otherwise, last time wouldn't have brought wheat back. But right at this moment, among the grassland people Yu Fu brought back, there was one person quietly raising his hand as if wanting to say something, but seemed a bit shy. Han Feng saw him raise his hand. Signaled, told him not to be afraid. Just speak. The newly joined grassland person saw Han Feng smile. Also became bolder. Took out a felt bag from his chest and gave it to Han Feng. Chief, is the food you mentioned this thing? Hearing him say that, his mood originally a bit disappointed because no new food crops, suddenly flickered a ray of hope. Could it be another unexpected harvest? He hurriedly opened the felt bag. Inside were a few seeds. Seeing them, Han Feng couldn't help trembling with excitement. Those were 2 soybeans and 3 golden corn kernels. At this time, a young man accompanying Yu Fu suddenly took out a few seeds. Han Feng saw this. Whole body trembled with excitement. It was corn and soybeans. Getting 2 important crops at once. For the Han tribe right now. Truly too precious. The main food of the Han tribe currently was rice. Only could be planted in places with abundant water sources. With wheat, corn, soybeans, water needed was less than rice. This meant, as long as could plant these crops, the Han tribe could expand to lands lacking water. After all, having food, in this era, meant having everything. Rice, corn, wheat, could all be used as staple food to popularize. Besides, soybean is also a very good crop, rich in protein and fat. Nutritional value, very high, can also be processed into many bean dishes. For example, soy milk, tofu, bean sprouts, etc. Just thinking about it, Han Feng already drooled with craving. Moreover, planting soybeans can also improve soil. Soybeans, through photosynthesis, can absorb nitrogen from the air, then accumulate under the roots. On soybean roots will grow many nodules. These nodules are like nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium needed for plant growth. Now have enough. Wonderful. Phosphorus is in animal manure. Potassium is in plant ash. Now adding nitrogen in soybeans. Truly perfect. Stabilizing emotions. Han Feng held 5 seeds. Asked that young man. This thing is indeed food seed. Where did you get it? The young man replied. I have seen those people on the grassland. Also traded with them. I used sheep to exchange for salt, arrow shafts, and their baskets too. These few seeds I found in the basket. Probably they dropped them in there. I have never seen this thing before, but because they brought it, so probably good stuff. I then took it out, kept it, intending later to use to exchange for something. Han Feng happily said, this thing is really very useful. Speak. What do you want? As long as I can do it. Definitely will fulfill your wish. The man immediately got excited. Really, Chief? I want a steel saber like Captain Yu Fu's. Han Feng wasn't stingy either. Immediately took off the single-edged military saber on his body. Threw it to him. Considered a reward for offering food. The man received the saber. Overjoyed. Hurriedly bowed to thank Han Feng. Others saw this. Couldn't help being jealous. Wish they could also find a few seeds like that. A few seeds exchanged for such a beautiful saber. This guy really got lucky. Why don't I have such luck? Unexpectedly getting 2 precious food crops. Han Feng was extremely excited. Now is summer. Very suitable for planting. Therefore, Han Feng wanted to quickly bring these seeds back to Hanyang City. Personally cultivate them. Expand cultivation area as soon as possible. However, right at this moment, Yu Fu raised a new problem. Chief, then will our trading continue? Han Feng thought for a moment, then said, continue. Why not continue? Not only continue, but also expand the scale. Next time you go, bring more iron pots. And those scissors too. Also bring some exquisite pottery. See if you can exchange for more good things from them. Especially seeds. If you get more seeds, I will give you a big credit. Yu Fu heard this. Immediately happy. Hurriedly agreed. Then, Han Feng arranged accommodation for the newly joined tribesmen. Let them rest well for a few days. Then assign work. As for those seeds, Han Feng treated them like treasures. Personally wrapped them in a piece of soft animal skin. Put close to his chest, afraid of losing them. Early the next morning, Han Feng couldn't wait to return to Hanyang City. He wanted to plant these seeds immediately. Let them take root and sprout on this land, bringing hope for the future of the Han tribe. Back in Hanyang City, Han Feng immediately went to the experimental field in the backyard, carefully planted corn and soybeans. Also instructed Xiao Dai to take good care of them. Must not let anything happen. Xiao Dai saw Han Feng so serious. Also knew these seeds were very important. Nodded vigorously, promising to take good care of them. After settling the seeds, Han Feng finally breathed a sigh of relief. Now just wait for them to grow. Harvest, then plant again. Believe it won't be long. The Han tribe will have inexhaustible corn and soybeans. Thinking of the scene of corn piles like mountains, soybeans filling warehouses, Han Feng couldn't help laughing. The future of the Han tribe will definitely be better and better. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, another half-month passed. The new city construction was in full swing. City walls were getting higher day by day. Houses inside the city were also rising from the ground. Reclaimed fields were lush green. Rice seedlings were growing gratifyingly. Vegetable fields were also full of vitality. Beans, loofahs climbed all over the trellis. Cabbages were wrapped tight, looking very lovable. Han Feng stood on the wall of the new city, looking at everything in front of him, heart full of sense of accomplishment. This is the country he built with his own hands. His home. He will use his life to protect this place. Let the people here live a happy and peaceful life. Suddenly, a hurried horse hoof sound broke the tranquility. A cavalryman galloped from the north, bringing back news from a scout team. Chief, Captain Yi sent back news. They found the lair of the Cannibal tribe. Han Feng's eyes narrowed. A cold light flashed. Finally found you. This time, I will completely eradicate this cancer. Let the Han tribe never have future troubles again. Pass my order. Gather the army. Prepare for battle. Yes, sir. In the future, if we encounter the Bamboo tribe's merchant caravan again, how should we handle it? This issue put Han Feng in a difficult position. After all, it concerns foreign strategy. It cannot be decided in haste. Should we choose peaceful coexistence or direct confrontation? Han Feng quickly made a decision. The grassland is like a giant cake. Both his tribe and the Bamboo tribe are fighting for peace. The two tribes are competitors. Therefore, anything that hinders the development of the Han tribe must be suppressed with full force. With that in mind, Han Feng glanced over at everyone. There are many new people here. They don't have much loyalty to the Han tribe yet. Moreover, too many people means too many loose lips. Such important matters shouldn't be known by ordinary soldiers. So he spoke up. We'll discuss this matter after we return. You all have been out here for a long time. You should go home and rest for a while. Besides, even if we go again, we need time to prepare goods for the next trip. Everyone, return with me. I also need to plant these seeds as soon as possible. Yu Fu immediately understood his meaning. Come to think of it, he had been away from home for several months. He wondered if his children would even recognize him. Oh right, Chief. Why haven't we seen you, Yi? Didn't you say he was here managing the market? Han Feng smiled and pointed at Yu Fu. That brat couldn't sit still in one place. Just like you, I assigned him another task. Right now, he's out on a mission. Wait until we get back. I'll tell you about it. Thus, Han Feng stayed at the new stronghold for one more day. He gave him detailed instructions on the upcoming work. The next day, he took Fu and the others back to Hanyang City. He was eager to plant the new seeds as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in the far southwest, the Bamboo tribe's merchant caravan, after acquiring goods from the Han tribe, was on the way back. They traveled from the grassland toward the southwest. It took more than a month. Finally, they reached the southwestern tip of the continent, an island covered in dense green bamboo. Their homeland was right before their eyes. On the afternoon of the last day of April, 50 robust men, shirtless and wearing conical hats, were gathering at the coast. This place was full of reefs. There were no sandy beaches. The herd of cows and horses they had traded for were leisurely grazing on the nearby hillside. The sea breeze blew gently. It was pleasant, pushing small ripples across the water surface. The sunset dyed the entire sea red. Countless seagulls soared over the water, occasionally diving down to catch fish. In the water near the shore, several men wearing bamboo baskets were digging for clams. On a higher rock, a man held a bamboo bow and arrow, occasionally shooting at seabirds. Every time he hit one, a large dog would dive into the sea and retrieve the bird to the shore. Needless to say, this dog was also bought from the nomadic tribe. On higher ground, several men were setting up a large iron pot on a fire made of firewood and dry grass. Seafood was simmering in the pot. Around the rim of the pot, a ring of corn cakes was stuck on a bake. A man stuck a corn cake onto the side of the pot and asked the man holding a pair of scissors, who was cutting his nails. He appeared to be the captain. "Captain, what is this pot made of? We don't have this kind of metal back home. It looks harder than our white gold, or our yellow gold and red gold. And these scissors, too, they are truly sharp. If they were made into weapons, they would definitely be very formidable. I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to beat them." The man called Captain continued using the scissors to trim his nails. Without looking up, he said, "Who said we have to fight? This isn't something we can decide. Just take these things back and give them to the chief. Let them handle it. Anyway, I don't want to fight either." The man sticking the corn cake sighed. "That's right. I also think it's better to be on good terms with them. It would be great if we could learn their techniques. Look at the woolen cloth they make. I have no idea how they do it. They buy sheep's wool from the grasslands, make it into woolen cloth, and then sell it back to them. Just how many cattle and horses did they get in exchange for that?" The captain finished trimming his nails and carefully put the scissors away. Then he took out a small piece of woolen cloth, the size of a handkerchief. It was something he had traded 2 bamboo tubes of sea salt for from a nomadic tribe. The chief of that nomadic tribe only had one sample piece of woolen cloth, a little over 2 meters wide, given to him by the Han tribe. In the end, he could only cut off a small piece for the captain. The captain stared at the piece of wool for a while, lost in thought. He looked up at the setting sun and turned to ask an older man behind him, "What day is it today? Is it a full moon? Why hasn't the tide gone out yet?" The older man took out a bamboo scroll he carried with him and calculated for a moment. Then he looked in the direction of the rising moon, checking carefully several times. Finally, he nodded. "Yes, today is the full moon. There will definitely be an ebb tide tonight." The captain put away the piece of wool, took out his bamboo bowl, and began to eat. "Call everyone back to eat. Let's rest. Tomorrow morning, we head home." The other members called out to each other and gathered to eat. After eating, they went to 2 nearby bamboo, stilt houses to rest. It was a place they had built long ago, used as a base when they came ashore. There were some supplies stored inside. The sky quickly darkened completely. The sea breeze was a bit stronger than during the day, stirring up waves in the bay. It also blew away the dark clouds in the sky. 2 bright moons hung in the sky, gradually approaching each other from different directions, forming a perfect circle directly overhead. At that moment, the seawater in the bay also began to surge. Under the gravitational pull of the moons, a magnificent tide formed. The seawater receded with a roar. The sea level dropped rapidly. In less than an hour, the vast bay revealed a wide path, connecting the continent to Bamboo Island 10 kilometers away. The once isolated island, now, thanks to this secret path, had become a peninsula connected to the mainland. This path was the only transportation route connecting Bamboo Island to the mainland. However, this path was only usable for less than a month each year. Whenever it was the beginning or end of the month, the 2 moons would align, forming an annulus. and the seawater would recede, revealing this secret path. This condition would last for 2 days. After that, the path would be submerged by the sea again. In the middle of the month, the sea level in the bay would be at its highest, and it would recede again, until the beginning of the next month, when the path would reappear for 2 days. In a year of 14 months, the path would appear for 28 days. The residents of Bamboo Island used this path to travel to the grasslands for trade. Of course, they could also build bamboo rafts to travel. The narrowest part of the bay was only about 10 kilometers wide. Crossing the sea was not a problem at all. However, the livestock they traded for from the grasslands could not be transported by raft, so they had to rely on this secret path that appeared once a month. Early the next morning, just as the sky began to brighten, the path was already more than a meter above the water. The merchant caravan from Bamboo Island began their journey home. They had been away from home for several months and were now anxious to return. But the journey was not easy. The path was covered with jagged reefs and coated with a slimy substance secreted by crustaceans and seaweed. It was very slippery. They could only carefully herd the cattle and horses along. They were worried that if the animals were injured, it would be a huge problem. They still had to rely on these livestock to plow their fields. The entire group walked from morning until noon before reaching the other shore. They then rode for another 2 hours before arriving at their tribe. The Jin tribe, also known as the Three Metals tribe, was famous for producing 3 types of gold: white gold, yellow gold, and red gold. In Han Feng's terms, that would be silver, gold, and red copper. Bamboo Island was not small, roughly the size of Taiwan Island. It had a long, narrow shape, stretching from southeast to northwest. The northwestern part, where it connected to the mainland via the secret path, was the territory of the Jin tribe. The Jin tribe was not the only one on the island. There were 6 other major tribes that co-ruled the island. With a total population of nearly 80,000, the Jin tribe had about 30,000 people, making it number 1 on Bamboo Island. As for the other 5 tribes, the largest had just over 10,000 people, while the smallest had only 6, or 7,000. These 5 tribes were all subordinate to the Jin tribe. They could be considered vassals, all following the Jin tribe's lead. This was understandable. The Jin tribe occupied the northwestern part of Bamboo Island. Not only was it connected to the mainland, making trade convenient, but the island's most important resources were also concentrated in the northwest. The gold and copper mines go without saying. Most importantly, the only source of fresh water on the island was also in the northwest. Therefore, whoever controlled the water source controlled the entire island. The Jin tribe had a large population, occupied one end of Bamboo Island, and controlled the source of the only freshwater river on the island. They could smelt their own metals, and could also trade with the mainland for cattle and horses, which Bamboo Island lacked. Therefore, the other 5 tribes, if they wanted metal farming tools or livestock for plowing, had to trade for them from the Jin tribe. Furthermore, the Jin tribe had a large population, so whatever they said, everyone had to listen. No one dared to offend them. The people on this island grew corn and soybeans for food. Their houses were mainly bamboo, stilt houses. The upper floor was for living, and the lower floor was for raising pigs. Pigs were native animals on Bamboo Island, and had been domesticated into livestock. Cattle and horses, however, had to be bought from the mainland. Bamboo Island also had goats, specifically black-furred mountain goats. They now had some sheep as well, which were also obtained through trade with the grasslands. However, they rarely traded for sheep anymore. Sheep reproduce quickly, and with plenty of corn stalks for feed, sheep had become the second most numerous livestock on Bamboo Island, after pigs. There were even hybrid sheep that had crossbred with the local mountain goats. Additionally, it should be noted that the Jin tribe only sold cattle and sheep to the other 5 tribes. They kept the horses for themselves. They had also learned archery on horseback from the Plains people, and had their own cavalry unit. This was also what helped them maintain their dominant position. On the afternoon of the first day of the 5th month, the second summer, the Jin tribe's merchant caravan finally returned to the heart of the tribe. It was a small town where their chief lived. The town was located in a valley called Clear Spring Valley, the source of the only freshwater river on Bamboo Island. In the valley, houses were packed closely together, with a population of over 4,000 people. As soon as the merchant caravan entered the valley, many tribesmen came out to welcome them. Every time, the merchant caravan returned. It was a festive occasion for the Jin tribe, because each time they brought back many good things. Who wouldn't be happy? However, this time, because of the matter with the Han tribe, the captain was in no mood to celebrate. He had an important matter to report to the chief. As soon as he entered the valley, the captain shouted loudly, "I have an urgent matter to report. Take me to the Grand Chief immediately." The tribesmen who were happily welcoming the caravan, hearing the captain's words, all made way. Someone immediately led him to the Grand Chief. The captain held a very high status in the tribe. The tribesmen dared not offend him and held him in high regard. After all, it was the merchant caravan that braved dangers to travel to distant places and trade for good things for them. The leadership structure of the Jin tribe was similar to other tribes. The Grand Chief was the paramount leader. He was also the leader of the 6 major tribes on Bamboo Island. Below the Grand Chief was the Council of Elders, consisting of 10 great elders, divided by their respective fields. 3 elders of metal, responsible for smelting gold, silver, and copper. 2 elders of grain, responsible for growing corn and soybeans. The elder of livestock, responsible for animal husbandry. The elder of bamboo, responsible for construction and architecture. The elder of technology, in charge of the science and technology research and development department. The elder of military, commanding all warriors. And the elder of commerce, managing foreign trade. The Jin tribe had a clear division of labor and a strict class system. It was truly the style of a major tribe. The captain's status was second only to the elders. He reported directly to the elder of commerce, but every time he returned from a trade mission, he had to report to the Grand Chief. This was the rule. On the highest hill in the valley stood a massive 2-story bamboo stilt house. It was the residence of the Grand Chief. At this moment, the Grand Chief of the Jin tribe was sitting on the 2nd floor balcony. In front of him was a small bamboo table. The Grand Chief was using a knife made from seashell to meticulously carve characters onto a bamboo slip. Just then, a warrior guarding downstairs climbed up to the 2nd floor, came to the balcony, and knelt on one knee. Reporting, Grand Chief. The merchant caravan from the grasslands has returned. Their captain says he has an important matter to report. He is downstairs seeking an audience. When the Jin tribe's chief heard that the merchant caravan had returned, he was overjoyed. He quickly put away the bamboo slip. "Quick, bring him to the main hall on the 1st floor." Then he hurried down to the 1st floor hall, to the long bamboo table in the middle of the room. The merchant captain was already waiting there. Seeing the chief come down from upstairs, the merchant captain quickly stood up and bowed. "Grand Chief," he said, "this time we have brought back many cattle and horses from the grasslands. However, we also encountered some special circumstances. There's a tribe, possibly even stronger than us, also trading in the grasslands. They're trading their goods for cattle and sheep. I managed to acquire some of the goods they were selling." When the Jin tribe's chief heard this, his first reaction was curiosity. He was not the first chief of the Jin tribe, but from childhood to adulthood, he had never heard of any tribe stronger than the Jin tribe. He said eagerly, "A tribe stronger than us. Quick, bring their goods for me to see." The merchant captain stood up and called out the door. Several members of the merchant caravan who were waiting outside hurriedly brought large and small bundles of things into the bamboo hall. Soon, the long table in the hall was completely filled. Then they quickly withdrew. All sorts of goods from the Han tribe were displayed, dazzling the Jin tribe's chief. Things he had never seen before, like teapots, teacups, water buckets, iron pots, all sorts of things. Moreover, they were all stamped when made by the great Han. The chief of the Jin tribe picked up a white porcelain teacup with a lid, cradling it in his hands, observing it intently. The body of the cup was very thin, and the outer glaze was smooth. He said in amazement, "This material seems to be pottery, but how do they make it so exquisite? Furthermore, all these cups look exactly the same. And they actually have writing too?" The merchant captain continued, "Not only that, they also know how to make white salt, and it's purer than ours." As he spoke, he took out a handful of white salt from a red shell. The Jin tribe's chief was even more astonished. He quickly took the small shell, took out a pinch of white salt, and sniffed it. There was no smell. The salt grains were uniform, pure white, and fine. It was indeed much better than their sea salt. The Jin tribe's sea salt sometimes even had small crabs mixed in. The captain introduced again. "Grand Chief, This is the metal they smelt. I heard from the nomadic tribesmen that they call it iron. These are iron scissors. Very sharp. There are also iron pots and iron ladles, which are their cooking utensils. This iron is much harder than our alloys. I heard they also have iron weapons, but they don't sell them, so I've never seen any. The merchant captain picked up the scissors and demonstrated their use for the chief. The scissors opened and closed, easily snipping off a lock of his hair. This left the chief utterly amazed. These scissors are truly miraculous. But what are they used for? Cutting hair? Do the shepherding tribes really need these scissors? The merchant captain explained. This thing can cut anything, but it's mainly used for shearing sheep. The Gene chief was even more surprised. Shearing sheep? The merchant captain confirmed. They sell scissors to the nomadic tribes. Let them shear the sheep, and then buy back all the wool. They weave it into a type of fabric called woolen cloth. This is the woolen cloth made from sheep's wool. It's used to make clothes. Take a look, chief. As he spoke, the merchant captain held up the piece of woolen cloth for the Gene chief to see. The Gene chief exclaimed in astonishment. Heavens, sheep's wool can be made into this. It's so soft. It looks dense, yet it's very breathable. Truly miraculous. With that, the Gene chief brought the woolen cloth close to his face. Feeling its softness, he then gently shook it, watching the fabric flutter in the breeze. His face filled with amazement. The merchant captain then picked up a burlap sack. Grand Chief, he said, this is the bag they use to carry things. It's called a burlap sack. It's woven from a type of grass. It's very sturdy and can hold a lot of things. The Gene chief took the burlap sack, carefully examining its rough but durable texture. Then he nodded. This thing is indeed not bad. It would be perfect for storing grain. If only it could be mass-produced. After the introductions, the Gene chief was extremely curious and amazed by the Han tribe's goods. At the same time, he also felt a vague sense of threat. He knew well that a tribe capable of creating such exquisite and useful items must possess extraordinary strength. The merchant captain, seeing the Gene chief's expression, suggested, Grand Chief, I think we should summon the elders to discuss this. We need to study these things. The other party's strength is likely not simple. We must prepare early. The Gene chief pondered for a moment, realizing the captain's words were very true. He immediately ordered the elders to be summoned. By noon the next day, the 10 great elders had all arrived. Everyone sat around the long table, looking at the Han tribe's goods displayed on it, all showing expressions of astonishment. The Gene chief spoke first. Esteemed elders, this time, the merchant caravan has brought these things back from the grasslands. They're all goods from a tribe called the Han tribe. According to the merchant captain, this tribe's strength may have already surpassed ours. Today, I have summoned everyone here to discuss together, to see if we can imitate and produce these things, and how we should deal with the Han tribe. The elder of commerce spoke first. I have carefully studied their white salt. It is likely sea salt refined by a special method. We just don't know how to do it. Furthermore, I believe this refining process must be very time-consuming and laborious, and the cost is not small. The elder of copper continued. Regarding this ironware, I have examined it closely. It is very similar to the gray metal we have tried to smelt before. But that gray metal is very difficult to smelt. To this day, we still haven't found a method to smelt it in large quantities, let alone forge it into tools or weapons. Moreover, we still haven't found any large deposits of high-quality gray metal or wanting to imitate and make these iron goods is truly very difficult. The elder of technology picked up a wooden bucket, observing it carefully. Grand Chief, he said, esteemed elders, look at this bucket. It is made very exquisitely. The wooden planks fit together tightly, and the surface is smooth. I guess they use sharp iron tools to process the wood. As for this white porcelain, the clay they use is completely different from ours. It must be a special kind of clay. As for the woolen cloth and burlap sacks, they are clearly woven. The burlap sack is probably made from hemp. We could try to find a similar plant to weave, although it will take a lot of time and effort. It's not impossible, but the woolen cloth, we don't know what tools and methods they use to make it. We can't possibly imitate it. Without iron scissors as sharp as theirs, we can't collect much sheep's wool. While everyone was discussing, the merchant captain suddenly remembered something. Oh, right. Grand Chief, I also heard that the Han tribe has a type of vehicle called a cart. It can carry many people and goods. This cart is much more convenient than a horse and can carry more things. With that, the merchant captain took a bamboo-carved model of a cart from his chest and placed it on the table. When the elders saw the model, their eyes lit up. The elder of military said excitedly, "If we can build this, transporting supplies during battles will be much more convenient in the future." The elder of bamboo also nodded in agreement. With this, transporting building materials will also be easier. The tribe's construction speed will definitely increase. The Gene Chief looked at the cart model. His heart also filled with excitement. He said to the Elder of Technology, "Elder of Technology, you must find a way to build this. The other elders must provide their full support. The merchant captain will also stay to help. We must build this cart as quickly as possible." The merchant captain looked troubled. "Grand Chief, I don't know anything about building carts. Besides, next month, I have to go to the grassland for trade. In my opinion, why don't we find a way to buy a cart from the Han tribe to use as a model? That would make it easier to study." The Elder of Commerce also said, "The merchant captain is right. We can trade seeds for it. The Han tribe has a large population. They must be in great need of food. Our corn ripens in 3 months. If intercropped with soybeans, we can harvest 2 crops a year. They will surely need such high-yield seeds. Perhaps we can even take this opportunity to learn how to build carts." The Gene Chief thought for a moment. This plan seemed feasible. "Let's do it that way," he said. "Elder of Commerce, next month, you lead the team to the grasslands for trade. Bring plenty of seeds. You must trade for a cart, no matter the cost. As for other good things, try to trade for them as well." The Elder of Commerce accepted the order, promising to do his best. After the meeting ended, the elders returned to their preparations. Because of this mysterious Han tribe, the Gene tribe had begun a series of actions and changes. A competition between the two tribes seemed to be quietly unfolding. While the Gene tribe was urgently holding its council of elders, back in the Han tribe, Han Feng had just led his people back to Hanyang City from the new city, clutching 5 precious seeds in his hand. They were one of the hopes for the tribe's future. Returning home, he planted these 5 seeds in his own garden. The reason he chose this place was because these 5 seeds were too precious, and there were too few of them. He couldn't afford any mishaps. Han Feng didn't feel at ease planting them elsewhere. In his house, there was only him and Xiao Dai. She had a gentle nature and would certainly not damage the seeds. This garden was the safest place for the 5 seeds. After planting the seeds, Han Feng began to think about the next trade mission to the grasslands. The Han tribe's trade situation had changed. The business of white salt and pottery, which was once a monopoly of the Han tribe, now faced competition from the Gene tribe. However, fortunately, the business of woolen cloth and ironware was still in the hands of the Han tribe. This was an advantage that the Gene tribe would find difficult to match in the short term. With this in mind, Han Feng immediately urged the tribesmen to continue increasing the production of woolen cloth and ironware to ensure their competitiveness in the market. After 5 months of hard construction, the warehouse area and livestock area of Hanyang City were finally completed. Looking at these 2 brand new areas, Han Feng felt a great sense of pride. Afterward, he assigned 200 slaves to build a 3-story school. They acted quickly, starting to dig the foundation. At the same time, Han Feng selected 2 newly built warehouses and converted them into textile workshops. The purpose was to centralize the looms for centralized management, thereby achieving large-scale production. One workshop was planned as a spinning workshop, responsible for carding and spinning yarn. The other workshop was the weaving workshop, neatly arranged with flying shuttle looms. Each warehouse could hold 60 machines. Each loom was 2 meters long and 2 meters wide. Each machine was operated by one person. Each machine could weave 10 meters of cloth per day. Thus, one workshop could produce 600 meters of cloth per day. This production speed was very satisfactory. The textile industry required a lot of labor, but fortunately, the Han tribe now had a large population. After adding several thousand people, dispatching 1 or 200 people to work in the textile industry was not a problem. After arranging the weaving work, Han Feng found Ecchi, asking him to continue organizing iron smelting. The last time they smelted iron was in the cold winter. This time, After half a year of thorough preparation, they had stockpiled enough raw materials to smelt 3 furnaces. However, the worrying thing was that the Han tribe's iron ore was about to run out. Therefore, Han Feng planned, in a month, after the plowing in the new city was completed, to send 300 slaves to the Salt Lake to mine to supplement the shortage of iron ore. Currently, as the population continued to grow and the construction of a new city continued to advance, the tribe's demand for iron was increasing. Every family needed iron pots, various tools, and iron weapons. At the same time, to maintain trade with the grasslands, a large amount of ironware also needed to be stockpiled. After all, the iron pots, scissors, and other things sold to the grasslands also consumed a lot of iron. Fortunately, De Chue and the others had accumulated experience in iron smelting. This time, Han Feng no longer needed to supervise personally. Han Feng then turned to the carpentry team, requesting them to build 2-wheeled horse-drawn carts to sell to the nomadic tribes. This type of 2-wheeled cart was relatively simple to make, mainly consisting of a pair of wheels, a frame, and a wooden carriage. Thanks to the wind-powered sawmill, the manufacturing was quite convenient. Furthermore, compared to 4-wheeled carts, 2-wheeled carts not only save labor and materials but also save metal. The cost was lower, and the economic efficiency was higher, although a 2-wheeled cart carried fewer goods. From a commercial perspective, this meant they could sell more carts. After arranging the 3 major tasks of cart making, weaving, and iron smelting, Han Feng had the plainsmen brought back by Du Fu form a new cavalry unit. The plan was to establish 2 squadrons, totaling 76 men. Each man would have 2 horses. The main task of this force was to protect the merchant caravan and compete for market share. To put it bluntly, they wanted to push the Jin tribe's merchant caravan out of the market. The new force was managed by cavalry squadron leader Chai Duo, with the help of several plainsmen. Han Feng was quite confident in their abilities. After arranging this, Han Feng got busy with another matter. The Han tribe school officially began construction. This was the first time in the tribe's history that they were building such a tall building. The tribesmen had no experience, so Han Feng had to personally supervise and provide guidance. Although Han Feng didn't major in construction in his past life, he had learned how to demolish buildings. These 2 things, to a certain extent, both required an understanding of a building's structure and load-bearing capacity. This school building was planned to use a composite brick structure. For this type of architectural structure, the foundation was the most critical element. The school building's foundation was dug very deep, ranging from 3 to 4 meters deep. At the main load-bearing points, 6-meter-deep shafts were also dug. In the foundation pits, they poured lime, charcoal, clay, and gravel, and then compacted it. This mixture was like a primitive concrete, very sturdy. The lime could prevent tree roots and seeds from growing. Charcoal and lime had moisture-proofing effects. Gravel and clay served to disperse weight and bind the materials. The foundation was filled up to a position 3 meters from ground. The shafts were filled with 3 meters of material. The wall foundation was filled with 1 meter. Then, large green bricks were used to build a 1-meter-thick foundation wall. On both sides of the foundation wall, more lime, slag, and gravel were poured, filling the foundation trench and then covered with soil. The foundation wall continued to rise another meter. Thus, the entire foundation was 4 meters high and 1 meter thick. Not only was it waterproof, earthquake-resistant, and pressure-reducing, but it could also bear the weight of the building. Furthermore, what was surprising was that 200 people took only 10 days to complete the foundation excavation. The speed was faster than Han Feng had expected. The school building was constructed with a composite brick structure, mainly using bricks, wood, and tiles as building materials. The walls and columns were built with green bricks. Large timber was used for the main and secondary beams. Thick wooden planks were laid over the beams to form the floor. This building was 16 meters wide, 35 meters long, and 3 stories high. It relied mainly on the beam system to bear the weight. Compared to ancient warships, it was just a small model. But for the Han tribe, this was already a magnificent architectural feat. The floor was very sturdy. One could jump around on it freely. However, considering practical usage needs, the classrooms will be used primarily for studying. Physical activities would be organized outdoors. On the school construction site, there were many people working. The slaves also cooperated actively. After all, they had built warehouses before. They had some experience. However, there was a problem at the construction site. There were too many children. There were the boys rescued from the fire tribe. About 700 or 800 of them. Most were 5 or 6 years old. They had nothing to do, and no toys either. So they ran all over the construction site. This not only affected the construction progress, but also posed a potential safety hazard. Han Feng observed for a while. He realized they were acting this way because they had no toys. So, Han Feng called over a child who was playing with clay. He told the boy to call his friends to gather at the square. He told them that Han Feng would teach them a fun game. Hearing this, the boy was overjoyed and ran to call his friends immediately. Han Feng had prepared toys for the children. Sandbags and jump ropes. These toys were simple and cheap, but they brought endless joy to children. Soon, hundreds of children gathered in the square. Han Feng carried a basket of sandbags. Behind him were several women helping to carry the jump ropes. Han Feng carefully instructed the children on how to play with the sandbags. After watching Han Feng demonstrate, they all looked very interested. They took turns receiving the sandbags and started playing. Many children played the sandbag tossing game. Soon, there weren't enough sandbags to go around. Han Feng then taught the children without sandbags how to jump rope. 2 people turned the rope. The other children lined up and jumped in one by one. The children played very happily. The square was filled with the sound of children's laughter. The adults, seeing the children happy, felt happy too. Han Feng suddenly had a thought. Adults also need recreational activities to relax. He thought about popularizing football. Football originated in ancient China. Called kuju. It is not only cheap, but also helps improve physical fitness. It can even be used for military training. Besides that, chess is also a not bad option. Playing chess not only helps with relaxation, but also trains thinking abilities. It is beneficial for the tribe's development. So, Han Feng gathered the pregnant women and those in charge of childcare. He asked them to make balls. The balls were made of animal skin, stuffed inside with rice husks and hemp fibers. They could use scrap fabric from the armor making. At the same time, he assigned 2 apprentices from the carpentry group to make chessboards. Soon, the tribe had made over 40 balls. Han Feng distributed 30 of them to the children. The rest were given to the cavalry and the merchant caravan. Then on the grassy field west of the settlement, Han Feng measured the area. He marked out a football field, set up goalposts, and drew the boundary lines. Then he explained the rules to everyone. They were all very interested in this novel sport and participated actively. However, just as everyone was having fun, Yu Ye's precision survey team sent a letter back via Falcon. They had been tasked with mapping and scouting the Cannibal tribe. This time, they were equipped with crossbows, which were very easy to use. They could shoot more arrows than traditional bows. Easier to aim and required less effort. They started from the mountain north of Hanyang City, crossed the valley, traversed the grassland, followed the traces left by the Cannibal tribe. They chased them to the upper reaches of the river. Upstream, many places were uninhabited. There were only abandoned settlements. Moreover, these places were all severely destroyed. They continued heading north. Crossing the mountainous region, they reached the plains. There, they saw alpacas, moose, and possibly even wild donkeys. But there, they lost the trail of the Cannibal tribe. However, they did not give up. They continued searching. Finally, they found the source of the river. It turned out the small river outside the city was just a branch of a larger river. The large river upstream was 50 meters wide, but the water wasn't deep. Horses could wade across. At the confluence of the 2 river branches, they met a tribal alliance. This alliance was not the Cannibal tribe. Yu Yi and the others communicated with them. They learned that these people knew quite a bit about the cannibal custom. Yi gave them some white salt. They welcomed Yu Yi and the others very enthusiastically. This tribal alliance had about 2,000 to 3,000 people, composed of over a dozen small tribes. They didn't know how to farm, but they were good at taming beasts. Everyone, regardless of age or gender, knew how to ride horses. This was so they could quickly flee when danger struck. There were elders in the tribe. They were the keepers of the tribe's knowledge. At the same time, there was a myth passed down through paintings. Other alliances nearby also knew this story. The elders showed Yi the pictures carved on stone tablets and told the story. The first picture depicted an ape born in a valley. This ape grew up, twice as tall as its kind. The second picture showed the ape species. Due to their massive body size, there wasn't enough food, so they began eating their own kind. Some ape men migrated because of this. Before leaving, they performed a sacrificial ritual. After that, the volcano turned into water, forming a river. The ape men followed the river and began their migration. The third picture depicted the migrants forming many tribes. Meanwhile, the giant apes in the valley continued to multiply. They came out of the valley, capturing humans to eat. Some humans were taken away to live and hunt with them. The fourth picture, the apes followed the captured humans to continue hunting people, eating human flesh. The cannibal custom gradually grew stronger. They returned to the snow mountain. The fifth picture, the migrants could not withstand the attacks of the cannibal tribe. They gathered together to form an alliance. This coincided with the Han tribe gathering others to fight against the cannibal tribe. The sixth picture was very strange. It depicted a man riding a one-tusked elephant. The image of this man wearing a crown and a hairpin looked very much like Han Feng. Moreover, the drawing on his body looked very much like the Chinese character on the Han tribe's flag. The one-tusked elephant was Hui Shan, Han Feng's mount. This astonished Han Feng greatly. The seventh picture, Han Feng riding the one-tusked elephant, gathering many tribes. The population grew larger and larger. The eighth picture, Han Feng led the tribesmen to the snow mountain, where the cannibal tribe lived, and won the war. The images ended there. Many details in this prophecy had already come true. Only one thing had not happened yet. That was Han Feng going to the snow mountain to fight the decisive battle with the cannibal tribe. Han Feng pondered. This alliance knew the prophecy, but they didn't gather other tribes themselves. Perhaps it was because primitive people lived by hunting and gathering. Food sources were limited. They couldn't sustain multiple tribes at once. But Han Feng had popularized farming techniques and animal husbandry in the Han tribe, solving the food problem, so he had the capacity to be the leader. Yi believed in this prophecy very much. He didn't know if he should continue scouting the cannibal tribe's lair or do something else, so he wrote a letter asking for Han Feng's opinion. Han Feng thought, this is a good opportunity. If this alliance believes in the prophecy, then it means Han Feng is the leader in the prophecy. It is very likely they will join the Han tribe. Therefore, Han Feng planned to admit that he was the one in the prophecy. He would use it for propaganda, build momentum, then ascend the throne, and establish a nation. Currently, the Han tribe was developing rapidly. Its population had exceeded 10,000, and they had built 2 cities. If they continued to develop under the tribal model, they would encounter many management problems. Therefore, establishing a nation was essential. Establishing a nation could help set up a complete management system, which was crucial for the long-term development of the tribe. Han Feng wrote a reply to Du Yi, telling him to send 2 people from the scouting team to invite the leaders of the tribal alliance to Hanyang City, bringing the original stone tablet with the prophecy carved on it. If they could contact other alliances that also believed in the prophecy, they should invite their leaders as well. Tell them this is the summons of the chosen one. Meanwhile, Du Yi was to lead the remaining 10 people to continue scouting the cannibal tribe's lair, to verify whether the information about the snow mountains, the cannibal tribe's lair, and the river's source in the prophecy was accurate. After sending the letter, Han Feng began to seriously plan the development of the Han tribe, preparing for the establishment of a nation. He knew that the feudal system of the Zhou dynasty had many drawbacks and should not be adopted. Therefore, Han Feng decided to follow the example of Qin Shi Huang and implement a centralized system of power. Currently, the Han tribe's population was not very large, so the administrative system could be set up simply. The smallest administrative unit would be the city. Each city would be managed by a city lord. Below the city would be villages. In the future, in places suitable for farming, cities would be built, with the cities as centers. They would form a network. Along the routes, villages would be built as rest stops. This would enhance communication and connection between cities, promoting the development of surrounding areas. However, during the development process, the safety of the villages must be ensured. This would rely on the strength of the cities to maintain. This development model was like military expansion. Building a city was like building a military fortress. Many fortresses connected together would form a controlled territory. They would eliminate enemies and wild beasts within the territory, then bring in people to live and build villages and exploit resources. In the inland cities, only a small security force would be needed. The rest would be dispatched to the border to form a border army, responsible for patrolling the borders. After meeting the needs of border defense, a field army would be dispatched to continue building cities beyond the border, gradually expanding the territory. When the territory expanded to a certain extent, reforms would be carried out. Several cities would be grouped into a county, several counties into a prefecture, and several prefectures into a province. Currently, the Han tribe only had 2 cities, so they had to proceed step by step, developing steadily. In short, the development motto of the Han tribe was practical work and steady development, relying on labor to escape poverty and get rich, using trade to build and protect the country. Elsewhere, after 2 long days of flying, the eagle finally reached its destination. Coincidentally, it met another eagle carrying a small deer back. Dee received the letter and items the eagle brought. He then read the letter to the leaders of the tribal alliance, while also showing them the Han tribe's flag, the exquisite crown and hairpin. He explained in detail that Han Feng's mount was a one-horned elephant, and mentioned that the surrounding tribes joining the Han tribe were all gradually fulfilling the prophecy. After hearing Du Ye's account and seeing these items, the leaders were all extremely astonished. Their faces showed disbelief. Some doubted what Du Ye said, thinking it was all just a coincidence. Seeing this, Du Ye calmly explained. He pointed out the similarity between the Han character on the flag and the drawing on the stone tablet. He emphasized that the crown and hairpin were both invented by Han Feng. Du Ye also said proudly, Han Feng created the Han characters. These characters can represent all things in the world. Now, we use Han characters to write letters and communicate. Everyone curiously looked at the Han characters on the animal hide, feeling their uniqueness and expressive power. Gradually, they came to believe in Han Feng's extraordinariness. Finally, they agreed to go to Hanyang City to see this legendary chosen one with their own eyes. At this point, the leaders of the tribal alliance decided they would personally go to the Han tribe. But when they learned that Du Ye didn't plan to return with them, but wanted to continue deeper into the snow mountains to find the Cannibal tribe, a burly man expressed his admiration for Du Ye's courage. He also said that they would send someone to guide him. Du Ye was overjoyed. He knew that having a guide familiar with the terrain would save him a lot of time searching for the way. He could also quickly complete the important mission the chief had entrusted to him. The next day, Du Ye divided his 12-man team into 2 groups. 2 men would lead the tribal alliance's survey team back to the tribe. One of the 2 was a former member of the Eagle tribe. He could communicate using the ATU Eagle. The other was skilled at using a compass and was responsible for navigation. They had to take a detour to the Plateau Plains region to find a tribal alliance skilled in hunting that also believed in the prophecy on the stone tablets. This alliance was quite close, making future communication convenient. As for Du Ye, he led 10 men, with 3 local guides joining them. This made them more confident in their search for the enemy's lair. At the same time, in the distant Hanyang city, the second rice crop was approaching the transplanting season. The seedlings were already about a foot tall. The construction of the school had slowed down, because most of the tribesmen were participating in rice transplanting. Only the foremen were left to supervise the slaves. Han Feng's efforts had finally paid off. The 5 seeds planted in his home garden had sprouted. 2 were soybeans, and 3 were corn. Corn was a staple crop with great potential. Planted in the summer, it could be harvested in just 3 months, 10 days shorter than the growth cycle of paddy rice. As for the wheat sown in the spring, it took 5 months to harvest. In the spring, Han Feng had experimentally planted 5 mu of wheat in the newly reclaimed area on the east bank of the river to find the most suitable planting density. He had divided the area into many plots, each with different spacing and planting densities. Surprisingly, these 5 mu of wheat produced 3 different varieties. One type had long awns, similar to the seeds Du Fu brought back. One type had short awns, and one type had no awns. Han Feng began preparing to select seeds for the next wheat crop. He carefully selected healthy plants that produced many grains for seed. After selecting the seeds, he began the harvest. He kept the three types of wheat separate, as he needed to conduct an experiment to distinguish barley from wheat. Han Feng had someone take 3 caddies of each type of wheat to the oil mill to be ground into flour. Meanwhile, he went to prepare the ingredients to leaven the dough. Since there was no honey, Han Feng sent someone to collect sap from the roots of the man-eating plant. Xiao Dai brought back the ground flour, curiously asking Han Feng why he had to grind it. Han Feng patiently explained it. Wheat requires little water and is suitable for growing on dry land. Moreover, it can be made into many delicious foods. Han Feng added the plant's sap and flour while kneading the dough. After preparing the 3 types of dough, he covered them with animal hides and waited for the dough to rise. After a long wait, Han Feng nervously lifted the animal hides to check on the dough's fermentation. The dough in the first basin had risen to 2 or 3 times its original size. Its surface was covered with many tiny holes. This was the wheat with medium-length awns. From this, he determined it was wheat. The dough in the second basin had barely risen. This was the grain with the longest awns. He identified it as barley. The dough in the third basin had also risen very well. This was the awnless grain. It was also wheat, but it was different from the first type. One rose to be fluffy, while the other was denser. This corresponded to bread flour and all-purpose flour. The all-purpose flour was suitable for making dumpling wrappers and noodles. The bread flour was suitable for making cakes and bread. When the tribesmen heard that the dough had risen, they flocked over, wanting to taste it. However, there wasn't much dough, not enough to share with everyone. Han Feng also used the barley flour to make stir-fried noodles with egg. Everyone who tasted it found it very novel. They gathered around, excitedly discussing the various dishes that could be made from wheat. Seeing this, Han Feng was very happy. He knew that wheat had great potential. It would not only help the tribe store more food, but it could also be rotated with paddy rice, thereby increasing productivity. At this very moment, the Jin tribe's merchant caravan set out with great fanfare. 120 men, bringing 300 cattle and horses to trade with the Han tribe. As for the Han tribe's merchant caravan, led by Du Fu, it was on a much grander scale. This caravan was captained by a plainsman. It had 2 cavalry squadrons, totaling 76 men as escorts. They were all elite warriors. Each man was equipped with 3 war horses, clad in full body armor. The horse tack was also excellent. The heavy cavalry was equipped with socketed bayonets. The armor had been improved, with a newly designed helmet and an added metal face mask. Over the past month, the Han tribe had produced over 400 rolls of natural-colored woolen cloth. This fabric was thin, suitable for wearing in spring and autumn, and had become a major export item. The Han tribe used sheep's wool to produce woolen cloth. The difference between the purchase price and the selling price was quite large. The profit was high, and with the wool industry, the tribe's standard of living had improved significantly. This time, the merchant caravan brought nearly 300 horses, a dozen cattle, 48 carts, 76 heavy cavalrymen, 80 merchant caravan members, along with a rich variety of goods. They set out from the east bank of the river, heading south to trade. Han Feng also instructed Du Fu to look for tribes with bamboo in the south along the way. Depending on the situation, they should either negotiate or drive them away. When the merchant caravan set out, the rice fields in the new city had been transplanted. The irrigation ditches had also been dug. The Chue led people to the salt lake to mine lodestone. Meanwhile, south of Hanyang City, the chief of the Lu tribe was feeling down. Previously, the spotted wild boars his tribe raised could be sold at a high price. But now that the Han tribe had cattle and sheep, the price of wild boars had plummeted. Even if he took the initiative to sell the boars, he didn't dare to ask for a high price. He wanted to trade for white salt, so he went to a neighboring tribe to inquire about the situation. But he found the neighboring tribe was moving. After asking, he learned that the neighboring tribe had previously found the Han tribe's white salt too expensive. Then, the Han tribe built a new settlement and needed a lot of manpower to build houses and store food. So, they started recruiting people. Children could herd sheep, women could be in charge of cooking and childcare, and men could do heavy labor in exchange for white salt. The chief of the neighboring tribe saw that those who joined the Han tribe were living better and better. So he also wanted to lead his tribesmen to join the Han tribe. He also said that, after joining, the old tribe could become a clan. Tribesmen could find each other through their names. The elder of a neighboring tribe advised him to send people to the Han tribe to work in exchange for white salt. He also showed him the way. Just follow the dirt road with wheel tracks, and you can reach the Han tribe. The chief returned to his tribe and began to seriously consider this proposal. At the beginning of the 3rd month of summer, Duye's survey and recon team was about to reach the territory of the Cannibal tribe. The 2 men sent out earlier had successfully contacted the hunting tribal alliance on the plateau and persuaded them to visit the Han tribe as guests. On the way south through the grasslands, the merchant caravan, led by Du Fu, encountered many groups of laborers. Meanwhile, the Jin tribe's merchant caravan was also heading towards the grasslands. It was very likely that the 2 caravans would encounter each other on the road. Han Feng was not worried about this. He believed that with their elite equipment, the merchant caravan could handle any situation, even if they encountered danger. They could return safely. In the 6th month, the rice transplanting in the new city was completed. The yield from this season's harvest meant that no one had to worry about famine anymore. Next, they began to prepare housing and firewood for the winter. The new city had a very large population, and everyone was full of confidence in building their homes. The school building in Hanyang City was undergoing roofing work. This building was constructed with green bricks, had spacious corridors, bright windows, and sturdy doors. The floor was laid with thick wood and would later be tiled. Previously, windows were made of wood and covered with animal hide. In the summer, it was very hot and stuffy. Now, the tribesmen had tried a new method. Han Feng planned to use paper to cover the windows. To realize this idea, they needed to produce paper and pens, solving the tribe's learning and hygiene problems. Han Feng was very decisive. After arranging the work at the school and the textile workshop, he went to the new city to prepare for paper production. He brought several carpenters with him, found a newly built house in the new city, and settled in. He had the carpenters make furniture and the necessary equipment for papermaking. At the same time, Han Feng called the Chue and Big Shu to arrange for manpower and vehicles to collect mulberry, bark, and hemp grass. The next day, the 2 teams set out to collect raw materials. The team collecting mulberry bark went into the forest to cut trees and gather the bark. The mulberry pulp was very sticky, so it needed to be mixed with water to dilute it. He found that the strength of the natural mulberry fibers was not high, so he planned to add leftover wood shavings from woodworking and leftover hemp fibers from spinning. First, he had people put the bark and fibers into a large pot on a simple stove built with bricks in the courtyard to boil in a square courtyard, each side 16 meters long. Apart from the 5 main houses, the remaining space was used as a temporary paper workshop. In the workshop, there were stoves and large pots for boiling raw materials. There was also a mortar and pestle, originally used for pounding rice, now used for pounding paper-making materials. There was also a large vat with a water tank underneath for making paper. Next to it was a table for placing the paper. Everyone in the courtyard was boiling bark, hemp fibers, and hemp stalks. Hemp stalks could also be used to make paper, so nothing would be wasted. These materials needed to be boiled for 1 or 2 days. During this time, Han Feng had people prepare the thin mats used for scooping paper. They split hemp grass leaves into thin strips, soaked them in water, then boiled them for an hour to soften them. After that, they were taken out to dry. Then they began to weave the mats. This was meticulous work. It took nearly 2 days to complete. Han Feng was not idle either. He had people use bricks to build a paper drying wall. This was a device used to dry paper. They used bricks to build 2 thin walls, 5 or 6 centimeters long, parallel to each other, 40 centimeters apart, creating a small passage. Then, they used plaster mixed with kaolin clay to seal the gaps between the bricks. Finally, they used fire to bake it hard. Thus, the paper wall was completed. When in use, a fire was lit in the middle of the passage to heat the walls. Wet paper was pasted onto the walls to dry. The speed was very fast. It only took a few seconds. One person could paste 2 sheets of paper at the same time, alternating between the left and right sides. The efficiency was very high. It not only saved time and effort, but also saved wood and drying space. It was also not affected by the weather. 2 days later, all preparations were complete. The mats were woven first, a total of 4. Each was 90 cm long and 60 cm wide, the size of A2 paper. After the paper was made, the excess edges would be trimmed. A 2 folded in half, is A4. Folded again is A8, the size of a regular exam paper. Folded again is A16, the size of a large exercise book. It could be folded or cut as needed. Since this was the first time making paper, Han Feng didn't have a craftsman make the mats too large. He planned to wait until the craftsmen were proficient in the technique before making larger mats. For now, the main thing was to test if they could make paper at all. After making the mats, they made wooden frames to hold them. In the afternoon, the drying wall was also completed. After being polished smooth, it could be put into use. The next morning, the boiled materials were taken off the fire. When taken out, they were soft and mushy, but still needed to be mixed with natural mulberry pulp and pounded until they became fluffy, forming a thin pulp for use. Several people took turns pounding. It only took half a day to finish. After all, this was just a test. Not many materials were needed. In the afternoon, the paper making officially began. Han Feng demonstrated first. Although he had never made paper before, he knew some key points. For example, the pulp had to be stirred evenly to ensure a uniform density. When scooping the pulp into the frame had to be tilted and shaken gently to spread the pulp evenly. Then, the mat was removed and laid on the table to drain. The steps of scooping and laying the paper were repeated. Han Feng made a few dozen sheets first, gradually mastering the technique. Only then did he teach others to improve work efficiency. Scooping paper is a skill that can only be mastered through long practice. There are no shortcuts. For now, they could only rely on manpower. The water tank was quite large, able to accommodate 2 people working at the same time. After teaching the technique, Han Feng stood by and supervised. The 2 papermakers learned very diligently. They tried to spread the pulp evenly, quickly filling the frame, while ensuring quality. With 3 people working together, they scooped about 200 sheets of paper. Stacking these sheets together, you could see the pulp had been pounded finely. The fibers were not broken. The paper was quite uniform. However, when comparing over 100 sheets, you could still see that some sheets were thick, and some were thin. This was because each time they scooped, the amount of pulp taken out was not consistent. Han Feng reminded the 2, and they paid attention to improving. After 4 hours of hard work, when the water and pulp ran out, they added more. Finally, they had made 600 sheets of paper. The more they made, the more skilled they became. The speed of papermaking also increased, from 2 minutes per sheet at the beginning to 1 minute per sheet later, and then 3 sheets in 2 minutes. The quality of the paper also got better and better. The thickness was almost uniform. 600 sheets of wet paper were stacked together, as thick as a hand. The water content was very high. The surface was not flat. There are also matte patterns on the surface. However, these problems could be solved by pressing and drying. The pressing method was simple. Place a wooden board on top of the wet paper, then put a heavy object on it, or use a lever and rope to tighten it. Some people worried the paper would stick together. Actually, this worry was unnecessary, because when scooping the paper, the fibers are tightly interlinked horizontally. As for the vertical direction, because water flows through, they become flat and won't stick together. After pressing until no more water came out, the initially 10 cm thick stack of wet paper was only 4 cm. The matte patterns also disappeared. The paper became flat. It looked like sheets of off-white cardboard. The final step was to paste the drained paper onto the paper wall to dry. Han Feng had the carpenters make a paper pasting tool, similar to a mop, wrapped in tanned antelope hide. He demonstrated first. He lit a fire in the passage of the drying wall to heat it up. Then he peeled off a sheet of wet paper, holding one corner with one hand and supporting it with the tool in the other. He pasted the paper onto the wall and smoothed it out. It was like pasting a slogan. The Chue and Big Shu were initially not very interested in paper. But when they heard Han Feng say that paper was very important for the tribe's development, they paid attention. Han Feng said paper could be used to cover windows. The 2 saw that the paper was translucent. Big Shu guessed Han Feng wanted to use paper to trade for animal hides, to make clothes. But the Chue thought the paper was not strong and was afraid of water. Han Feng explained, coating the paper with tung oil can make it waterproof. Moreover, paper coated with tung oil will become even more transparent. The 2 tried Han Feng's method, and it was indeed so. Big Shu curiously asked if paper had any other uses. Han Feng replied, paper can be used for writing. Han characters are very important. They can record and convey information. Paper is lighter and more convenient than animal hide, and it can be produced by ourselves. There's no limit to the quantity. A large amount of information can be written and conveyed at once. Big Shu thought writing wasn't very useful, but Dechue thought more deeply about the effect of paper combined with Han characters. He thought it could help better transmit the tribe's techniques. After the first 600 sheets of paper were dried, more than 570 intact sheets remained. The damaged ones were due to errors when peeling or pasting them on the wall. Han Feng was very satisfied with having produced a finished product. After the successful trial, the paper workshop began working overtime. They could produce over 1,000 sheets of paper per day. However, to meet the demand for renovating the windows in Hanyang City, it would still take some time. Once he had some free time, he started researching something new. The paper was done. At the current production rate, a week would be enough to cover the windows. There were still leftover raw materials, so they continued making paper. With paper available, Han Feng began to consider which type of pen to popularize. Fountain pens and ballpoint pens were impossible to make at present. The types that could be made were European-style quill pens, Chinese-style brush pens, and pencils. Since brush pens write large characters and waste a lot of paper, they were ruled out. That left quill pens and pencils, which were suitable for writing small characters. However, the materials for quill pens were scarce. Most of the large feathers in the Han tribe were used for making arrows. Furthermore, quill pens were consumables and needed to be sharpened frequently. They were not economical. The main materials for pencils were wood, clay, and graphite. The tribe had plenty of wood and clay, although graphite was not available locally. Han Feng had bought some before. Moreover, after the Shui tribe joined the Han tribe, he learned where to find graphite and borax. Therefore, Han Feng found Big Shu and the former chief of the Shui tribe, telling them to lead people to mine graphite and borax. Big Shu also arranged for an escort, prepared tools, food, and brought an eagle for communication. With the materials for pencils secured, he also wanted to find a suitable pen for official writing. Because pencil writing is easily erased, it's not suitable for recording important documents. He considered using an ink pen. Goose quills were not durable, so he still had to choose a brush pen. Han Feng knew calligraphy, although his skill was average. In modern times, there was a type of soft nib fountain pen, a combination of a fountain pen and a brush pen. The nib was fine and firm, capable of writing small characters, which met the requirement of saving paper. However, Han Feng didn't expect to be able to make a fountain pen with an integrated ink cartridge. He planned to first make small brush pens, dipping them in ink to write. Large brushes would only be used for children to practice writing. As for the materials for brush pens, the Han tribe had no shortage. The pen shaft could be made from the thorns of the man-eating plant. Previously, these thorns were cut up for firewood. Now, they could be used to make pen shafts. The bristles could be made from goat hair, wolf hair, or a mixture. The Han tribe had a large stock of wolf pelts and fur from the winter, enough to make many brush pens. Han Feng thought about making brush pens while handling the tribe's affairs. On a summer afternoon, during the lunch break, Han Feng received some good news. The Ling tribe, the tribe he had met when searching for wild paddy rice in the swamp, had learned how to make rafts from him. Since then, the people of the Ling tribe loved making rafts. Later, they discovered bamboo in the swamp. Their lives improved significantly. They could use rafts to go to farther places to harvest water chestnuts. Their yield increased day by day. They also used bamboo to make weapons, like bamboo spears, bamboo pikes, bamboo bows, bamboo arrows, fish spears, and bamboo baskets. As a result, their hunting and defense capabilities were enhanced. They conquered several small tribes around them. Their population grew to over 1,000 people, becoming the hegemon of the swamp area. The Ling tribe regarded Han Feng as their benefactor. In their hearts, Han Feng was like a god. They remembered that Han Feng had taken away a type of plant, guessing that it must have a special use. They began to search everywhere for it. Finally, they found paddy rice. At first, they tried many ways to prepare it, but none tasted good. Until one day, someone put rice and fish into a bamboo tube and boiled it, accidentally creating a delicious bamboo tube fish congee. From then on, they discovered the special appeal of rice. After many experiments, they found that rice was edible in any form, especially steamed rice, which became the tribe's staple food. They found more wild paddy rice in the swamp. Although they didn't know how to cultivate it yet, they had entered the agricultural era. The river east of the Han tribe's new city connected to the swamp. The Ling tribe had discovered people living here very early on. Initially, the population here was small. The Ling tribe even considered taking over this place. But over time, the population here grew larger and larger. Not only did they build city walls, but they also domesticated many wild animals. The Ling tribe dared not act rashly. They could only send people to scout regularly. They saw the Han tribe diverting water into fields, plowing, sowing seeds, and then transplanting seedlings. These plants grew very quickly. After careful observation, the Ling tribe saw that these plants were very similar to their paddy rice. So they guessed that this might be Han Feng's tribe. The leaders of the Ling tribe immediately decided to send a few people who had met Han Feng to this tribe to confirm. At this moment, Lang Chao and a few members of the Ling tribe arrived at the opposite bank of the Han tribe. The 5 of them chose a time when no one was on the riverbank to cross to the other side on a bamboo raft. But just as they were about to land, they were spotted by the guards of the city gate. Did Chue, leading the patrol team, send a squad over there. He ordered them to try to capture them alive. If the other party did not resist, they were to be brought to him. When the Ling tribe members saw the guards approaching with weapons, they were frightened. One man said, "If we go ashore, we'll definitely be captured. The mission will be a failure." Lang Chao said she would swim across first. The others should stay and wait. If she wasn't killed, then the others should cross, because Lang Chao was the first in the tribe to learn how to make a raft. She thought Han Feng would recognize her. Her chances of survival were also higher. Lang Chao swam to the shore. As soon as she stood up, she was surrounded by a dozen spears. She quickly gestured, saying she had no ill intentions. She even took out a large water chestnut, black and shaped like a bull's head. She told the guards to take it to their chief. Although they didn't understand what Lang Chao was saying, the guards understood her meaning. They took the water chestnut and led her towards the city gate. The squad leader brought Lang Chao to the city gate. The Chue looked at her, guessing she knew the chief. He told the guards not to give Lang Chao a hard time, and went into the city himself to find Han Feng. Lang Chao looked around curiously. Everything was new to her, like the wooden chairs, the white bowls with patterns. Everything was so exquisite. Da Chui phoned Han Feng and gave him the water chestnut. He said, "A few people came on something made of bamboo that can float on water from the other side of the river." That woman said to give this to the chief. Han Feng recognized it as a water chestnut at a glance. He remembered when he went to the swamp east of the mountain to find rice. He had met a tribe that specialized in harvesting water chestnuts and had taught them how to make rafts. So he guessed it must be people from that tribe. The Chue asked if he should meet the woman. Han Feng said yes. Although water chestnuts were not very useful to the Han tribe, the Ling tribe had bamboo, and bamboo was something Han Feng had been looking for. If they could trade or have them join the Han tribe, they would have a supply of bamboo. Han Feng and the Chue went out of the city. When Lang Chao saw Han Feng, she excitedly knelt down, thanking him for teaching them how to make rafts. Han Feng had the guards help Lang Chao up, and gestured, "If you have companions, tell them to come over. I won't harm them." Lang Chao thought for a moment, and decided to call the other 4 ashore. When the other 4 saw that Lang Chao had met the chief, they were overjoyed and quickly paddled their raft across the river. They followed Lang Chao to the city gate. Han Feng looked at the bamboo weapons of the Ling tribe members. They definitely had bamboo. He was very excited. Long So told Han Feng that they had followed his instructions and learned how to make rafts. They also knew about the edible grass, but they didn't know how to plant it. They could only gather wild grains. She wanted Han Feng to teach them how to plant it. Han Feng said he could teach them, but they had to trade for it with items. For example, the bamboo they used to make weapons. The Han tribe would also trade their own goods. If they agreed, Han Feng would send people to teach them how to plant rice. After saying that, Han Feng had to Chue bring samples of the Han tribe's goods. Pottery, white salt, iron pots, iron ladles, farming tools, and so on. The Ling tribe members tasted the white salt and examined the items. Finally, they said they only needed white salt and farming tools. They also wanted clothes and as much livestock as the Han tribe people had. When Han Feng heard this, he understood. The Ling tribe lived in the swamp, where there were few large herbivores. They lacked fabric and animal hides for winter clothing. But trading so many things for just bamboo was too much of a loss. He had to change the terms. He thought, the swamp has a lot of water, suitable for raising ducks. Duck feathers could be used for arrows. Duck eggs and meat were both edible. Ducks were also easy to raise, suitable for popularizing in the Ling tribe. So, Han Feng told Lang Chao, fabric and livestock can be given, but not just in exchange for bamboo. You must trade for bamboo products. For example, mats, straw hats, pin shafts, chopsticks, and so on. Lang Chao didn't understand what bamboo products were. Han Feng said he would send people to teach them, but I'm afraid your raft can't be kept. Han Feng would have someone take them back. After saying that, Han Feng had his soldiers bring the bamboo raft back and dismantle it into individual poles. Then he had the craftsmen in the city teach the Ling tribe members how to make bamboo goods. The 5 members of the Ling tribe were kept there. During these days, they learned how to weave bamboo and also learned more about the Han tribe. For example, their goods, living habits, how they ate, and so on. Han Feng also had the elder of the Cha tribe come to teach them about farming, explaining the growth process of paddy rice. He also told Lang Chao about the benefits and methods of raising ducks. Lang Chao was very interested. Raising ducks was actually not difficult. The Ling tribe had both land and wetlands. They just needed to use bamboo to fence off an area along the shore, catch newly hatched ducklings, and raise them. They could use bamboo cages or nets to prevent the ducks from escaping. They could also fatten the ducks by feeding them. Han Feng felt this trade was beneficial for both sides. The Han tribe didn't need to raise ducks, but could still get duck meat, duck eggs, and duck feathers. The Ling tribe got fabric and livestock. Even if they didn't join the Han tribe, it was as if they were working for the Han tribe. A week later, Lang Chao and the others had learned how to weave bamboo. Early that morning, Han Feng went to the riverbank to see them off. Since their bamboo raft had been dismantled, the Han tribe used a newly built small boat to take them back. They also sent 15 more people led by the Cha clan chief, including people skilled in rice planting, weaving guards, and an eagle for sending messages. The Cha clan chief was formerly the leader of the Cha tribe. The living environment of the Cha tribe and the Ling tribe were quite similar, so he was very suitable to help the Ling tribe select land and teach them how to plant rice. This group would stay there for over a month, helping the Ling tribe plant paddy rice and plan the duck-raising area. Then, Lang Chao and the others followed the envoy and left in a small wooden boat. Han Feng had been in the new city for half a month. During this time, he communicated with Hanyang City by letter. He knew that the construction there was progressing well. 2 school buildings were completed. The other 2 were also under construction. The layout of the new city was different from Hanyang City. The new city was rectangular. The market area was larger than Hanyang City's, divided into 4 rectangular areas by 2 major roads. Each large area was further divided into 4 small areas, totaling 16 small areas. But now the population of the new city was constantly increasing. Besides the Han tribesmen, there were also many laborers, approaching 10,000 people. The city needed to build housing and warehouses like the woodworking shop, the blacksmith shop, the livestock area, and the grain storage and feed storage. These already occupied 3 areas. Moreover, the housing in the new city took up a large area. The remaining 13 areas, even if entirely built into residential areas, would not be enough for nearly 10,000 people. Therefore, more city sections had to be built. Han Feng had originally planned to build a way station, a small village between the new city and Hanyang City. But there wasn't enough water there. They couldn't grow paddy rice, so they couldn't be self-sufficient in food. Therefore, they had to wait until corn and soybeans were successfully cultivated, and these drought-resistant crops were widely popularized before that village could be built. For now, they could only follow the old plan. Build another market area north of the current one, of the same scale, also divided into 16 small areas, to alleviate the housing pressure. After handing over the task of building the second market area to De Chue, Han Feng continued to research paper production. He wanted to find a way to mechanize it to completely replace manual labor, increasing the speed of paper production. He thought of weaving bamboo into a long mat to act as a conveyor belt, with a heater underneath, so that the pulp would dry as it moved along the conveyor. But he still hadn't solved the problem of how to quickly and evenly spread the pulp onto the conveyor, continuously without breaking. Just then, Hanyang City sent a letter by Eagle, reporting that 2 survey teams from the Northern Tribal Alliances had arrived. The survey team had 37 people, the leaders of the 2 alliances. They brought many wild asses, their backs carrying stone tablets carved with myths. The survey team arrived outside Hanyang City. Seeing the city built of green bricks, they were utterly astonished. The bricks were laid so neatly, it looked as if it was created by gods. As they got closer, they saw children herding sheep and playing on a soccer field, walking around the soccer field. They saw the clear moat. They felt this city was too fortified. Even the 8 men couldn't breach it. The elder and Shaman Shu greeted them at the city gate. 2 members of the survey team acted as interpreters. Inside the city, they saw ox carts carrying bricks towards the center. The streets were paved with bricks, flat and smooth. Under the bricks with holes, water flowed. On both sides of the road were houses, with smoke rising from the chimneys, and the delicious smell of food in the air. Arriving at the central area, they saw 2 3-story buildings. A similar building was under construction on the opposite side. Many people were working. They were amazed that these buildings were built by human hands. The elder led them to their prepared lodgings. He told them the chief was in the new city and would be back tomorrow. Today, they could tour the tribe. The members of the survey team curiously asked, "What time will the chief arrive tomorrow? Does he really ride a long-nosed beast?" Shaman Shu said, "The chief will return tomorrow riding an elephant." Quickly, they asked again, "Can we see your food and how you get it?" The elder said, "The food is in the house, on the dining table. You'll know after you eat. In the afternoon, we will take you on a tour of the tribe and show you how we get our food." The members of the survey team entered the house. They saw on the long, 7-arched limu wood table stewed meat, stir-fried vegetables, and tomato egg drop soup. There were also white porcelain dinner sets and ceramic spoons. They felt that sitting on chairs, leaning on a table to eat, and using such exquisite dinnerware was too luxurious. An elder asked, "These stone bowls, can only the chief use them?" The Han tribesman explained, "This is pottery. Everyone in the Han tribe has it. We can also sell it to other tribes." The members of the survey team were all astonished, eagerly looking forward to meeting Han Feng. Then, they began to enjoy the food. The rice was fragrant and soft, the egg drop soup was delicious, and the stir-fried vegetables were also very tasty, especially the stir-fried wood ear mushrooms with green peppers. Although spicy, everyone loved it. As for the mixed stewed mutton, they had never eaten meat cooked this way before. They found it delicious. They asked what the daily staple food of the Han tribe was. The Han tribesman replied that it was rice, made from the grains of the paddy rice plant. Just by sowing the seeds in the ground, it could grow into rice. But growing paddy rice was not easy. It required paddy fields. The chief of the Han tribe had a way to make paddy fields. The survey team members were very surprised after hearing this. After eating, they were eager to go see the paddy rice. 2 Han tribesmen led the survey team on a tour. First, they went out the east gate to see the rice paddies and the man-made river. When they learned that these rivers were dug by people, they were very surprised. That elder looked at the rice paddies, deep in thought. He wondered if they could grow paddy rice like this in their own tribe. Next, they went to see the peanut fields and the wheat fields. They were very interested in these crops that didn't need to be grown in water. However, these crops were still quite new, and there were no stable seeds yet. After touring the fields, they returned to the city to visit the industrial areas. They saw the oil press workshop, the textile workshop, and the woodworking shop. In the woodworking shop, they saw a windmill turning gears, controlling an iron saw blade to cut wood. They felt this was divine technology. Only a god could do this. After the tour, they were very impressed with the Han tribe and Han Feng. They believed that Han Feng was the god from the legends carved on the tablets. They looked forward to meeting him, to see if he would agree to lead them to defeat the cannibal tribe and give them a better life. Moreover, they also wanted to know, if they joined the Han tribe, how would they be arranged? After all, Hanyang City was already packed with people. The next day, 2 groups of people returned to Hanyang City. One group was the mineral exploration team, under the leadership of the Shui clan member. They had found the graphite mine and the borax mine. They easily mined 2 carts of graphite and 1 cart of borax. They used 3 4-wheeled ox carts, each with 2 oxen, to return. In the afternoon, the elder and shaman Shu led the survey team to the east gate to wait for Han Feng. Around 4 o'clock, they saw Han Feng returning on his one-horned elephant. This time, it was only Han Feng, Nu Bao, and Hui Shan. The others all stayed in the new city to make paper. Han Feng wanted to win over this tribal alliance to join the Han tribe to increase their strength. He also planned to use the prophecy on the stone tablets for propaganda, to create public opinion, saying he was the son of heaven's mandate, then ascend the throne and establish a nation. As soon as the survey team members saw Han Feng, they recognized him as the god on the stone tablets. They quickly knelt down and kowtowed. Han Feng told them to stand up, and they would talk after entering the city. Then, he arranged to meet the survey team at dinner to talk in detail. He then went home. As soon as he got home, Shaman Shu and the elder came to report on the situation. The elder said the construction of the school was progressing quickly. 2 buildings were completed. The 3rd building had reached the 2nd floor. The 4th building's foundation was being dug. The elder asked Han Feng how big of a house he planned to build on the land north of the school. Should they start construction now? Han Feng said to first ensure the quality of the school. As for his house, they would deal with it later. The plan might change. Shaman Shu reported that the mining team had returned in the morning. They had found graphite and borax. Han Feng was very happy. He ordered the mining team to be called to dinner tonight, and he would reward them. Then they talked about the survey team. The survey team had arrived yesterday morning, bringing many wild asses from the plateau. On their backs, they also carried several stone tablets. They had taken the survey team on a tour of Hanyang City. The survey team was very interested in farming. Perhaps they wanted the Han tribe to teach them. Han Feng said if they wanted to learn farming, they had to join the tribe first. The 3 of them all smiled. They were very much in favor of expanding and developing the tribe. Dinner was held on the city wall. This was the first time a survey team had been on the city wall. They saw the fields and the river below the city. Feeling the scenery was very beautiful. They also pondered the purpose of the city wall. Han Feng sat at the head of the table. His first words directed the conversation to the Cannibal tribe. He thanked the survey team for helping his subordinate find the Cannibal tribe's lair, paving the way for a counterattack. When the members of the survey team heard this, they no longer had the heart to admire the scenery. Their expressions turned serious. After all, this matter was related to the prophecy on the stone tablets. And Han Feng, the man sitting before them, was the leader who would lead humanity to defeat the 8 men in the prophecy. An elderly elder asked Han Feng about his plan to counterattack the Cannibal tribe, expressing his concern, believing the Cannibal tribe was too strong. Han Feng said confidently, "The Han tribe has been attacked by the Cannibal tribe 3 times, and all 3 times we were victorious. The Cannibal tribe is not without weaknesses. The slaves in the city are captured cannibals." Everyone in the survey team was shocked. They couldn't believe the Han tribe could defeat the mighty Cannibal tribe. Someone asked about the Cannibal tribe's weaknesses. Han Feng explained it. The Cannibal tribe has strength and speed, especially in the forest. So when fighting them, don't choose a wide forest terrain to limit their climbing ability. Someone else said, the Cannibal tribe runs very fast on flat terrain. They can still hunt and kill people. Han Feng then introduced the use of the city wall. Last time, when the Cannibal tribe attacked Hanyang City, dozens of apes tried to climb the city wall, but they couldn't even touch the wall before being eliminated by our warriors. The people from the hunting alliance lamented, "A city wall this high? We can't build it. We still can't escape being hunted by the Cannibal tribe." Shaman Shu quickly said, "As long as you join the Han tribe, the chief will lead everyone to a better life. Not only will you have sturdy city walls, but you will also be equipped with powerful weapons, able to defend yourselves against the enemy." A young man asked, "Will the Han tribe really accept us? When we come here, where will we live? What will we eat? Do we have to rely on farming?" Han Feng found it a bit strange. He was trying to persuade them to join the tribe, so why were they being so proactive? But he quickly understood. These tribal alliances believed in the prophecy on the stone tablets. After confirming he was the god in the prophecy, they had unconditional trust and loyalty to him. Moreover, the strength and wealth of the Han tribe had also moved them. Growing grass could yield food. using machines to weave cloth, and there were many other strange tools. Han Feng asked them again if they were willing to join the Han tribe and counterattack the cannibal tribes lair together. When the members of the survey team heard this, they all fell into deep thought. They really wanted to join the Han tribe, at least for safety. But they didn't want to counterattack the cannibal tribe. The enemy was too strong. However, thinking that the prophecy on the stone tablets had already been partially fulfilled, in the end, they still chose to trust Han Feng. Everyone expressed their willingness to follow Han Feng and defeat the cannibal tribe. Han Feng stood up and said passionately, "We are not fighting for the gods or for ourselves. We are fighting so that our children and grandchildren can grow up safely, without worrying about hunger and cold, or being killed by the enemy. I will lead everyone to final victory." These words touched everyone's hearts. Han Feng raised his hand, signaling for everyone to be quiet. Since everyone agrees to join, let's discuss the relocation. Everyone, please tell me, how many people does each alliance have? Everyone began to report. But in the past, the alliances had never conducted a unified census, so the reports were very chaotic. Han Feng listened patiently, then summarized. He discovered that these two tribal alliances didn't even have names. They were just a group of tribes gathered together. They didn't really understand what an alliance was. The term was coined by Han Feng. For the convenience of management, Han Feng gave them temporary names. One alliance lived on the border between the high-altitude forests and the grasslands. It was called the Plateau Forest Line. This alliance had the largest population, about 2,400 people, comprising 16 small tribes. On average, each tribe had 150 people. They lived mainly by animal husbandry. They had over 600 blue-gray plateau wild asses, the result of many years of accumulation, and about 1,800 alpacas of various colors, which were their main source of livestock, meat and milk. In addition, they also had nearly 200 moose. This alliance was skilled at taming wild animals, but their combat strength was not strong. However, they had many livestock and were skilled riders. Relying on the tactic of if you can't win, run, they had not been wiped out by the cannibal tribe. He named them the Three Livestock Alliance. The other alliance had fewer people, about 1,600, comprising 11 small tribes. The average population was similar to the Three Livestock Alliance. They lived on the border between the plateau grasslands and the southern mountains. They lived by hunting, raising only a few livestock. Their prey included saiga antelopes, bighorn sheep, alpacas, and wild asses. This alliance mainly hunted bighorn sheep. He named them the Bighorn Alliance. They had over 200 wild asses, the result of intermarriage and trade with the Three Livestock Alliance. After summarizing, Han Feng knew that these two alliances had a total of 37 tribes, matching the number of people in the survey team. Each tribe had sent one leader. The total population was about 4,000 people. They raised about 900 wild asses, nearly 200 moose, and about 1,800 alpacas. These two alliances were quite powerful. If they joined the Han tribe, Han Feng estimated the total population of the Han tribe this year could reach 20,000. Hanyang City did not have an accurate census, but it was estimated to have about 5,000 people. The new city had over 7,000 people when it was first built. In recent months, after absorbing laborers from surrounding tribes, the population had exceeded 10,000. It was estimated to be around 11,500 people, not including slaves. Adding these two alliances, the population exceeding 20,000 was a certainty. If the Ling tribe and the laboring tribes south of the new city were included, it would be even more. A member of the survey team asked Han Feng when they could relocate. Han Feng said not this year, because there wasn't enough housing. The tribesmen in the new city hadn't even finished building their own houses, let alone have time to build houses for them. Therefore, Han Feng planned for them to relocate early next spring, when the snow melted. This would give them a year to prepare, build city walls, and build houses. Moreover, the construction projects in Hanyang City would be completed this year. Next year, people could be sent to help them build a new city. By next winter, they would have safe city walls, warm houses, and abundant food. A young chief asked, "Are we considered people of the Han tribe now? Do we get the same rights as everyone else?" Han Feng said, "As long as you agree to join, you are a member of the Han tribe. No matter where you are, you have the same rights. In addition, Han Feng promised to provide them with all the supplies the Han tribe had, and send a team of soldiers to teach them the Han language and Han characters. This team of soldiers had to be able to protect themselves. If the other party had ill intentions, they could also run back and report. After everything was agreed upon, everyone ate and drank together to celebrate. The next day, it rained cats and dogs. The members of the survey team, busy preparing supplies, had not yet left. The rain gave them a chance to rest. But this heavy rain brought disaster to the survey and Recon team in the north. Du Yi and the others, under the guidance of the locals, had crossed the river confluence and headed north into the Plateau Mountains. Last evening, they encountered thick, dark clouds. It was about to rain, so they looked for shelter. Luckily, they found a cave, but inside was a den of wild wolves. Fortunately, they had many people and were armed with bows, arrows, and crossbows. They quickly eliminated the entire wolf pack and took over the cave. That night, the rain was very heavy. Because of the high altitude, the lightning was terrifying. They encountered a plateau thunderstorm. Thunder and lightning shook the sky. Even the mountain trembled. Countless lightning bolts struck the mountain where they were taking shelter. Inside the cave, loose rocks rained down. They felt like the cave could collapse at any moment. Just then, someone noticed that the river water seemed to be receding. Dee didn't believe it. With such heavy rain, the river should be rising. But when he went to the cave entrance to look, his expression immediately changed. This wasn't the river receding at all. It was clearly the mountain rising.